another House seat in a projected majority.
Right now, Democrats do still have a small pathway to holding on to the House, but it is getting slimmer. The latest Fox News Power rankings show that in the best case scenario for Democrats, they could achieve a 2-seat majority. For Republicans, a superb night with.
Okay, guess who just gave a big girl yawn? It's Boo.
Brad.
I yawn like a girl. What can I say?
Yeah, it's a very big girl.
Big girl.
Very big girl.
Big girl.
This is a good show today because of nothing that I just said or did.
Yep. Okay.
Do you know anything about the show today?
Yeah, I do because I love Dinesh.
Don't look at the sheet.
Yeah.
Well,
Pick it up, Hannah. Don't let him see.
Okay.
Dinesh D'Souza is not going to be on the YouTube stream.
that's what I was about to give everybody a warning that we're going to have to mute our YouTube live stream at 12:25.
Stream us on the Odyssey app.
Yes. Odyssey app, old fashioned radio, whatever you want.
So just no audio during Dinesh.
We're just going to mute it.
We're going to mute it.
So we'll be on.
Yeah.
Okay. Just like that. It'll look like that.
And if you don't get it synced up, it'll be like an old-fashioned Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Listen to
man.
the Odyssey app.
You know what's crazy is that when I'm listening in my office to you guys when I'm not in here, once in a while I'll click on the live stream to see it, and if it matches up to what I'm hearing, I feel like I just won the lottery because it's so rare.
Wow.
It's like
That's really
when you're
moving.
pumping gas and you just stop all of a sudden, and if it hits like exactly $20 or exactly
$20.
$400
You
or
couldn't
whatever,
do
like
anything
the
with
even,
$20.
it's like
Drive the
wow,
next pump.
Yeah.
perfect pump.
Want to know how I know Ryan's never won the lottery? It's little victories, like
Yeah.
hitting $20 even on the thing.
Okay,
Or
so we
matching up
have
audio.
Dinesh D'Souza at 12:25. 107, we're going to have Jim Carafano. I believe he has some updates for us. And at 125, Dan Proft, who is the co-host of the Morning Drive show.
You're going to be very disappointed if Jim Carafano has no updates for us.
He will have
On
updates
anything.
for us. I know he
Carafano
does.
is always great.
I know he does.
Like, we've never not had a good interview with Carafano.
True.
Who's Dan Proft again?
Dan Proft, he's a radio host out of
Probably the
Chicago.
top conservative radio show host in Illinois.
There we go.
YouTube poll. Is it important to you that the likely GOP House majority commit now to impeach Joe Biden?
So is it important? Options are yes, they should commit. No, not a priority for me. Or he should not be impeached. I'm interested to talk about this because I do have an opinion on this. I have a strong opinion on this. I'm overburdened with my opinion on
I
this.
want them to put that.
With wonderful purpose. What is it? I'm burdened with glorious purpose. Is that what Loki says?
Oh, yeah. I'm
Oh, I don't
burdened
know.
with glorious purpose.
Something like that.
That sounded very.
The Loki,
Loki-ish.
the Loki series was pretty good.
I like
Did you
it.
watch it?
Yeah,
I never
it
watched
was. It wasn't as like fun, I don't think,
Yeah.
as some of the other Marvel ones, but it was entertaining. It was good. WandaVision was so good.
WandaVision was the best one yet.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was Marvel movie fun.
You know what?
Yeah.
And whenever you watched the WandaVision, then you understood the Doctor Strange movie that came out following it. because
I
it's-
didn't at all because I did not see it.
I did watch it. The new one?
Yeah,
The newest one?
but it kind of helps explain Wanda's motivations in that movie.
Yeah.
Lipstick time.
That's true.
Are we getting to pick, or are you just gonna pick one for yourself?
I have lipstick on right now, but it's like my everyday lipstick that just doesn't.
You don't want to be everyday cat.
I don't want to be seen.
Okay.
It's this color. See?
What do they call
That's what
that
you have
color?
now?
That's a nude.
Is that
Bashful you.
Bashful you. Everything I would wear would probably be bashful. Just because of my personality.
Makeup names are funny.
Poppy, please. Guess what color that is?
Orange.
Poppy.
It's gotta be like
Orange.
very red.
That's the red, and that's all that's left of the red.
Ooh.
Ooh, you need some more.
I've had that for like 3 years.
More.
I know. I need more because I don't like those options. Look at my bag of tricks.
I don't want to just do a segment listening to the names of makeup.
It's interesting.
I've always been intrigued about how they name cars too. Like why they choose to.
Like, why not George?
Yeah. What makes a cool car name?
Yeah.
Yeah, what wouldn't make a
like
cool
the
car
cool
name?
cars, the cool cars were always named after something, like a Tesla not a Tesla. Tesla's not cool. Tesla's techie. No, I would say like
Tesla's a person.
yeah, a Barracuda. Tesla's kind of cool in the sense that it's thrown back to Nikola Tesla and his work with electricity.
Bronco.
Yeah, Ford Bronco or a Mustang. It's named after something. But like the new car models and stuff like that, they don't really name them after anything. They take a name and they get about 80% there. I'll give you Volkswagen Jetta. It's not a jet. But it's a Jetta. What's a Jetta? We don't really know.
It's Volkswagen.
Yeah, it's Volkswagen.
I agree.
But like BMWs, their names.
Like, what's a Sereno? Kia.
El Camino was always fun.
Sorrento.
Sorrento?
Sorrento, yeah.
That-
Sereno.
El
See,
Camino.
Yeah,
that's my
exactly.
point. What is the Sereno? I don't know. It's
the
definitely not a Kia car.
Sorrento.
Did you hear about the Chevy Nova and how poorly it
No
did?
go.
Nova.
Yeah.
Bull says Brad has my favorite shirt on. Let's go.
That's his Tuesday jacket.
And
Is this Argyle?
having been that's plaid.
I don't
Sweet.
know.
It's on the stripes too.
Having been around coaching a junior high volleyball team for boys, there's a lot of let's go. Where are we going? We keep wanting to go. We never get there.
Do you ever hear bras?
Oh, yeah. And when my son says that to his mother, he gets an earful. I'm like, all right, bruh, let's go.
Man, you know a phrase you'd hear a lot in Christian music was 1 in a million. Like, you're unique, you're 1 in a million. I would say a lot of times I'm like, if you're 1 in a million, then there are literally 1.5 other people exactly like you, even in the St. Louis metropolitan area. that phrase is another one that I hate.
Only you would think that.
There's so many Christian music phrases.
I don't like the phrase synergy.
Let's just
I hate that word.
I think that's
complain.
habit number
Show!
Hey, show
Show! Show!
and not a minute.
This American ride. You need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
But you know, this guy DeSantis has the charisma of this cup. Okay.
Yeah.
I think when Chris says, "Are you going to run in 2024?" He looks like he's having a stroke. He can't even answer that simple question.
Yeah.
This is where I say Trump has a better shot, certainly with the Republican Party and the Republican base, than he does. Because Trump, as annoying as he is and as hateful as he is, he has that kind of negative charisma that is what we've come to see in the past few years. And DeSantis does not. He's just boring, and he lies as much as Trump. So if they're going to lie, at least entertain us with it.
What did Joy Behar just say? I could do a whole show on that clip alone. What did she say? What are your highlights? I mean, I've thought a lot about this in the last hour and a half. Brad, what are your thoughts on what you've just heard?
I don't know if shocked is the right way, because I mean, it's Joy Behar, but did she just say Ron DeSantis acts like he had a stroke?
That would be a great time to point out to you that tonight is the debate between Dr. Oz and John Fetterman, who had a stroke and will be debating tonight post-stroke, with a lot of accommodations that are being made to him to help him do the debate post-stroke. This is a dunk for Joy Behar. If this was reversed, if there was a conservative, let's say there was somebody on Outnumbered on Fox who suggested that a Democrat looked like they were having a stroke, this would be a huge dunk for the Democrats on the Republicans for being so flippant about what it is to be post-stroke. But for Joy Behar, it is an insult. Suggesting that Ron DeSantis, I need to stand up to say this because it makes me enraged to listen to Joy Behar and her normal spewing on The View insult Ron DeSantis by suggesting he looks like he has a stroke. What is she going to say tomorrow on The View after John Fetterman, who is recovering from a stroke, debates Dr. Oz on television? What's going to happen next? It's an insult to Ron DeSantis. Tomorrow, it will be the strength of Fetterman. That is the double standard that we live in, that Joy Behar can be on the show that came out of the movie Mean Girls. It became a daily show, and ABC is like, here, have a daytime show. We'll put the meanest girls up there, and they can be catty and whine and moan about everything they don't like and cackle when they find something that they do like. We'll put them on. It'll be great. You're going to insult Ron DeSantis. You are going to show your disgust and your dismay towards Ron DeSantis by suggesting that he appeared as though he had a stroke. And then tomorrow, you are going to uphold John Fetterman, a man who did have a stroke, who is struggling to exist in the same circumstances that his opponent, but that most other people who haven't suffered strokes have to communicate. He cannot do it the way other people can. That doesn't mean that John Fetterman is less valuable as a human being. John Fetterman's life has value the same way that Dr. Oz's life has value in Pennsylvania. Life has value, and we're going to get back to that. But to suggest that Joy Behar is in the right because she doesn't like Ron DeSantis, says that Ron DeSantis has the personality of her coffee cup. And then, just so we can walk down this one more time, because this is this ridiculous. That's the stroke part. That's where Joy Behar decided to implement the suggestion that a man had a stroke as a way to say he's awful. That's what Joy Behar said. And I remind you, tonight, Fetterman and Oz will debate, and Fetterman is going to be obviously recovering from his stroke still with a lot of accommodations on the stage. How will she handle that phrase tomorrow? She owes a lot of people an apology. She owes Ron DeSantis an apology. Listen to what she has to say about Ron DeSantis, who talks about what he did. When you hear how they criticize Ron DeSantis, listen to how much policy they're talking about. Listen to how much personality they're talking about. And at the end, they're asking for more Donald Trump.
But, this guy, DeSantis, has the charisma of this cup, okay?
Yeah.
I think when Chris says, are you going to run in 2024, he looks like he's having a stroke. He can't even answer that simple question.
Yeah.
This is where I say Trump has a better shot, certainly with the Republican Party and the Republican base, than he does. Because Trump, as annoying as he is and as hateful as he is, he has that kind of negative charisma that is what we've come to see in the past few years. And DeSantis does not. He's just boring, and he lies as much as Trump. So if they're going to lie, at least entertain us with it.
Oh my gosh, these people are so afraid of Ron DeSantis. They are shaking in their really, really expensive high-end boots. They are terrified. They just endorsed Ron DeSantis. Why? Because he doesn't have the negative energy that Donald Trump does. That he's kind of boring. That he doesn't bring the entertainment to the table the way that Donald Trump does. They need Donald Trump. They want Donald Trump. They eat, sleep, and breathe Donald Trump. They need Donald Trump to run again so that they have a Mean Girl Club so that they can get up every morning and prepare for their show and get ready to Mean Girl on Donald Trump. And then there's a bunch of cackling, yes, you're right about everything. We love you. People who hate Donald Trump, too, that will continue to give them ratings. What are they going to do on The View when Ron DeSantis eventually, maybe not in 2024, when Ron DeSantis goes and runs for president, wins, and they got to react to that? They got to react to policy? That they don't get to just sit up there and mean girl their way through an hour-long television show? Is it an hour long? I don't even know.
I don't know.
It's too long.
Yes.
They're going to not be able to go up there and reach across anything that's political to the personality part where they want to with Donald Trump. And they've been successful in cultivating an audience that likes that. Ron DeSantis is Donald Trump without the baggage. We've talked about this before. Maybe he's the guy for 2024. Maybe Donald Trump's the guy for 2024. I don't know. I don't really care because in 13 days we have a midterm election that means way more to me right now than that does. But listen to The View. In the same breath, Joy Behar is able to insult people who are having a stroke. It's literally, she says, he sounds like he's having a stroke. He can't even get a word out. Holy crap. If a Republican said that about, oh my gosh, I'm scared just even talking about it. And I'm just talking about something that Joy Behar just said. What is wrong with these people? I know that you really want to know what Sunny Hostin had to say about it.
When you see him in those carefully crafted conferences, he looks so fired up when he's talking about sending, immigrants to Martha's Vineyard, and when he's talking about sending kids back to school during COVID, and when he's, doing that. So I was surprised he was so wooden. But I think no answer is an answer, and the fact that he did not respond to the 2024 question means he is definitely running against Donald Trump.
But why doesn't he doesn't want the people of Florida to know that?
No, because the people of Florida deserve
you think they're not going to notice that he's gone?
They might not. He's that boring. They won't even know he's not there.
They love him. They love him. They need him. I'll quote Balls on the YouTube live chat. He says he thinks they want to date him. These people are so out of touch. I heard a statistic today. 4 times as many people are moving into Florida than any other state. Everybody's going to Florida. People are fleeing their home because they want to be in a place that Ron DeSantis currently controls. Nobody is doing that to come to J.B. Pritzker's Illinois. It's not happening. Nobody wants to be here. The people who are here have already assessed, how much do I have to stay here? If I leave, what do I lose? Ron DeSantis is good with his people, and you're going to see this in this election, I think, in a big way.
I do think that Florida is where Democrats may be misreading the political mood more than anywhere. Ron DeSantis has consistently performed 10 points up over Charlie Crist. Even on the issue, which I've spoken out against, I hated the flying migrants to Martha's Vineyard. I thought that was ridiculous theater. 50% of Hispanic voters in the state of Florida supported that action. By and large, Florida is the state that the most people are flocking to, 4 times more than any other state. So you can call him DeSantis, you can call him whatever you'd like. He's going to win the state of Florida.
I thought that was for tax
Well,
relief.
you know what? Until you can say that you can see the crystal ball, nobody knows who's going to win the state of Florida.
Yeah, okay, Whoopi. She then went on to talk about how it's really important. She feels as though it's her responsibility to remind people that it's our duty. It's your duty to go out and vote, which means, holy crap, stop saying that. We need as many people to go out and vote for Crist as we possibly can. If you say that Ron DeSantis has already won the election, maybe people will be scared or throw in the towel early and they won't go vote. Obviously, go vote. Did people have a dramatic shift in their willingness to vote in those 30 seconds where Alyssa Farah Griffin, I had to look her up, she was in the Trump administration. She's not really like the most Trumpian person, but she was in that, I think. And she's saying, listen, DeSantis is going to win Florida soundly. And people are like, guess I won't vote. And then Whoopi says, you need to make sure you vote, people. It's your duty. And they're like, okay, fine, I'll go. This is a roller coaster ride. Now listen to this, because this is where I decided, I'm airing The View on the show today.
And you absolutely are right. And we're still a couple weeks out from election, and we've seen crazy things happen in final days. But one of the things that I feel very strongly about that I think DeSantis has done right is he tried to keep kids in the classroom during COVID. I know many voters who have said, I will never vote for a politician who kept kids out of the classroom. We've seen the stats now about how much it's put our kids behind, losing nearly a year of education.
Except that children are alive now because we kept them out of the
school. But there was a way to do it right.
No, there wasn't a way. If there had been a way to do it right, the guy that you were over there with would have done it right.
Well, we pitched him a lot of ideas he didn't take. There were a lot of...
I know you did, but the people that did it right saved those kids' lives. Yeah, it's going to be a little harder to get them to pull them up where they are, but they're here.
You're seriously telling me, Whoopi Goldberg, that even though keeping these children home from school, even though These blue states kept these children home from school. It didn't provide them the best experience with school. It maybe held them back a little bit in their education. It maybe caused some sacrifices that in the end weren't providing the best life for those kids that they could have. At least they had life. At least those kids had the opportunity to live. That's what you're saying to me right now, Whoopi Goldberg. That taking the risk and putting the kids back in the school, that the most important thing for those children was to keep them home, to make sure that you preserved life, because the risk you took to send them to school that could end their life, that wasn't worth it to you. Your ultimate goal is, I know there's going to be sacrifice. I know that these kids are going to face hardships. I know that these kids may not be better off in their education because of this move. They may not be better off in their social skills because of this move, but they will be better off because they're alive. Now do babies. Because you're a hypocrite if you don't. These people don't even understand the words that are coming out of their mouth when they speak them. They say what's advantageous to them in that very moment to try to prey upon the emotions of the people who are in their studio or in their audience. They go reach out for the easiest apple to pick and make sure that everybody knows there's always going to be another easy apple to pick down the road. But you are not consistent. Your values change based on what is good for you, not as what is good for everybody else. And that is the language, the currency of virtue signaling. To be in a position to tell everybody what needs to happen in order for good to prevail, you include everybody else and their decisions in what you say is right and wrong. You're willing to do that, but you're not willing to be consistent. Be consistent. Life does matter. Making decisions that you feel will preserve life, even though hardships will come on the other end of it, start with actually letting those babies live. Start with actually supporting institutions and government funding for shelters, for adoption assistance, to make it so that it's simple for people, parents who want to bring children into their home, to have these children so that they get life. It's really simple. It's so simple, it makes me a little bit jittery inside to think that you could be so obtuse to your own hypocrisy. That segment there started with Joy Behar saying, Ron DeSantis, he's kind of boring. He doesn't really have a lot of entertaining value to him. He's doing his thing in Florida. People don't even know if he's gone. If the Republicans are going to run somebody, they better run somebody with, her words, that negative energy. So at least it'll be entertaining for us. Joy Behar, the Republican Party is not for you. You are not for the Republican Party. We don't care what you think. We are not pledging our allegiance to Donald Trump. We are not pledging our allegiance to Ron DeSantis. We pledge our allegiance to the United States of America. It's really that simple. And what is best for the United States of America is where we will lend our support. And you've got nothing to offer it. I don't go down the View rabbit hole very often, but this one was too good to pass up because they are flailing. They are scared. They are terrified of what's coming in this election and the next. And it's not Ron DeSantis that's coming in this election. It's not Donald Trump that's coming in the next election. It's you. And you're a viewer. You are a voter. You are a taxpayer. You're a constituent of these people. You are standing up and you are saying, this thing, Joy Behar and Whoopi and the people who are in this mean girl club that you've been selling the American people, we're kind of done with it. The writing's on the wall. They can see it, and they're scared, and I love it. When we come back, we're going to speak with Dinesh D'Souza. I'm really excited to talk to him about his new book. We love having Dinesh on. We've been working on this for a while, had it postponed a couple times, and excited to get him on when we come on next. If you stream us online, you're going to have to listen to us on the Odyssey app if you can't get us, of course, on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis's home for conservative talk, because we're not putting this one on the social media for obvious reasons. Dinesh D'Souza on The Annie Frey Show when we come back.
She only sleeps when it's raining.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. Follow Annie on Twitter @Annie Frey Show.
She says, baby, well, I can't help but be scared of it all sometimes. And the rain's gonna wash away, I believe.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
97.1 is your place for full Decision 2022 coverage.
Decision 2022.
Sponsored by Air Comfort Service and TR Hughes Homes on 97.1 FM Talk.
The ear, nose, and throat problems really start showing up right around this time of year, and they might get a little bit worse. If you want to try to have a chronic ENT problem that you've experienced, maybe forever, I don't know, or maybe it's occurred maybe in your adult age. I know that I've had issues with allergies differently before and after pregnancy. These things can develop over time, and don't think that you just have to live with them. Go to Gateway ENT, gatewaydrs.com, Gateway ENT, and get set up with one of the very best ENTs in the St. Louis area. They are a private practice. The whole enterprise is set up around you. It's patient-centered. They are not affiliated with any, big entity, big hospital entity that causes them to get pushed in the direction of referring in the hospital system. They care about you, and you can get in really quick with Gateway ENT as well. Anybody in the family who needs it, doesn't matter what your age is, Gateway ENT sees folks, patients of all age. They are going to be an affordable option for you to finally get that ENT issue solved. 314-843-3828. That's 314-843-3828. Online at gatewaydrs.com.
If you're like most Americans, you're pretty much in disbelief watching the world lose its mind. As we all know, global problems have local consequences. Too many of them. And if the next news headline spins us into chaos, are you ready? Grocery store supply chains are only as strong as their weakest link. Don't wait for them to break. Today's the day to secure emergency food for everyone in your family. My Patriot Supply is America's largest preparedness company. Our specially packaged and delicious food stays fresh for up to 25 years in storage. It'll be there when you need it. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and pick up several emergency food kits. There are a dozen different sizes that average over 2,000 calories per day. Our food kits are in stock and ship quickly and discreetly to your door. Having food storage in your home beats standing in government food lines. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and prepare for what's coming. mypatriotsupply.com.
What's your favorite four-letter word? Chances are you've said it more than a few times dealing with this crazy world we live in. But at Compass Retirement Solutions, our four-letter word of choice is hope. Hope for a better tomorrow. And hope that your retirement plans don't take a back seat. You've watched inflation soar, and maybe your retirement future feels a little uncertain right now. But all hope is not lost. Find out exactly how much risk you're still taking with your investments. Find out how you may be able to save big on taxes. And find out how having a written retirement plan just might give you the hope you've been looking for. Call today to set up a meeting. 314-373-1598. That's 314-373-1598. Compass Retirement Solutions. 314
is streamlined. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe. If the media ignores them, then we're talking to them. And we're posting it all as it happens. 97.1 on Twitter and Facebook.
Michael's Flooring Outlet online. IGotFloored.com, fun website to easily remember. IGotFloored.com. I appreciate what Michael's Flooring Outlet has invested into the community. The idea that you can go buy your flooring without sacrificing anything when it comes to quality and when it comes to value from a neighborhood flooring shopping center. You can reach out to Michael's Flooring Outlet on their website at IGotFloored.com. Inquire about estimates on your new flooring installation. I just noticed the last week, I'm a little freaking out about it, that in one of our bathrooms, there's some water damage on the floor. A, we got to figure out where the water damage is. B, we got to figure out if we can restore the floor, if we got to replace it. I know where I'm going in the event that I need to check out what my options are when it comes to flooring. I'm going to IGotFloored.com first, and then I'm going to go check out what they can do for me when I go to Michael's Flooring Outlet, one of their locations. These are good people. They are St. Louis people. It's a family-owned and operated business, and they're just waiting to meet you. Mention the Annie Frey Show when you stop by. IGotFloored.com.
Nobody wants to miss the important things in life, and if it's because of bad vision, you don't have to. Mark Cox here from my friends at Brenton Vision. They can help you out. That's why I want you to take 2 minutes today to call my friends at Brenton at 314-375-2020 or go online to BrentonVision.com. Your eyes are as unique as your fingerprint. Since Brenton Vision is the only place in Missouri offering all 7 forms of modern vision correction, they can create a customized treatment plan just for your vision. They helped my wife out. She chose the lens replacement therapy and now sees better than ever, and she loves it. You can have that same experience with Brenton Vision. They accept flex plans and medical spending plans as well at Brenton. So don't let that money expire or go to waste. See your best. Do what we did. Call Brenton Vision at 314-375-2020 or schedule online right now at BrentonVision.com.
Hi, this is Ken.
And Lori Heisey of Heisey Advisory Group. We're dedicated to helping individuals and families work toward their financial goals.
If you're retiring soon, join us Saturday at 9:30 a.m. for your Retirement Highway.
Investment advisory services by individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Studio. Air Comfort Service is hiring licensed journeymen. Don't have a journeyman license? Air Comfort Service will help you get it. Get guaranteed hours year-round and more. Apply online at aircomfortservice.com.
I'm only happy when it rains. I'm only happy when it's complicated. And no, I know you can't appreciate it.
This is the Annie Frey Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Frey Show.
Just a little garbage on a Tuesday afternoon there. Thanks for being with us. If you missed it, we just spoke with Dinesh D'Souza. You can rewind on the Odyssey app after you follow 97.1 FM Talk right there and hear what Dinesh had to say about his new book and film. Let's get to Wiggins America.
Wiggins! Oh! Wiggins! This is, in fact, not garbage.
We'll see. I'll be the judge.
Oh, man, that was good. Annie Frey. Annie Frey.
I just want you to make jokes without patting yourself on the back after you're impressed with your joke.
I can't pat myself on the back. That's why I clap. Let people know.
Without clapping for yourself. Giving yourself a round of applause.
Annie Frey, I've been talking about polls a lot in the last couple weeks, which I know you love.
Even though I asked you not to.
Do you think...
Not true.
Now, do you... Real question now. I know that you don't like polls. So taking a step back from any individual state, even though I really want to talk about New Hampshire today, I'm going to take a step back, not do that.
Man, I've been wondering what's going on in New Hampshire.
I'm sure you have.
I've been salivating and couldn't sleep last night.
Annie, the polls are very close in New Hampshire
and
New Mexico.
That means lots of things.
Yes, it does.
Everybody's excited about New Hampshire now. Find New Hampshire on a map.
Oh, Annie,
if
the
Vermont?
Republicans take, if Bolduc
Is it New Hampshire?
No, it's Vermont V.
I know.
Okay.
That's how I remember it too.
Yes.
And then I always think, man, I hope that's right.
I wish there were a device for New Hampshire. It's just
I wish New Hampshire,
not Vermont one.
Yeah, it's the other one.
Yeah.
New Hampshire looked like an NH.
I wish it did, but it doesn't.
Easier.
Yes. No, If it started with an A, that'd be great because then it's that shape. With polls, though.
New Hampshire.
We've done it.
We've solved it.
Just
Listen, now I'm
geography
clapping
students
again.
across the world are going, that girl knows what she's talking about.
Do you think that your hesitation to trust a poll, is it data-based? Is it historical-based? Is it emotional? What is it for you?
Very few things that I do are based on emotions. So you can cross that one off the list. They're wrong. They're not reliably right.
Some are.
I've got a reason why.
Please.
And it's because I know the purpose of polls.
Yeah.
The polls are there as a persuasion tool, not a proof tool or a predictive
To
tool.
manipulate people.
Some now are. And
most of them are.
No. Some now are?
Some now are. I think
my
historically they haven't always been that way. More now are than
Define
ever.
the timeline of some now. When
Okay.
did now start?
I'm going to say now
When is
started
now
in
now?
probably about 2016.
Soon.
Just missed it.
Because so many polls have been eaten up by media outlets that have an agenda. There were some polls that were really good before they, like for instance, the CNN
You could get
poll.
away with more of that when the media wasn't covering it all the time.
Exactly. I think once you had media outlets teaming up with polls.
I make a counterpoint to him,
Yeah,
and
and
then
he
he
said
says exactly. And
I
I'm
agree
like,
with it,
I don't
and then
know
turn
how
it.
to argue this. One out of one people over here say no to polls.
Well, I bring this up simply because I've been talking about it a lot lately, and I just want you guys to trust that when I'm looking at polls, I'm a nerd enough that I will sit down at night watching a movie or whatever and sit there and look at poll crosstabs while I'm doing it. I don't know why I do this. I just enjoy doing
Why
it.
do you want us to know that?
Because
why?
I have been for the last 2 weeks and probably for the next 2 weeks.
He's using a persuasive tool to persuade us about
exactly.
persuasive tools.
Man, I'm not easily persuaded.
That's right.
You're gonna have to.
Also, there are not Real Clear Politics has done a really good job this year of now grabbing their overall average because they've always been lauded for doing an average of polls, basically a poll of polls.
I think they do an average job.
Thank you. There's your round of applause again. But this year,
Wait, before you didn't give me a round of applause, you said something and gave yourself a round of applause.
Well, I think I've done a pretty good job of laying off of that then.
Should we poll the room?
This year they've added a tool to Real Clear Politics where they're not only looking at the average of polls, they're running that through a historical overestimate or underestimate. For instance, in Georgia, right now the polls have Walker down by 1 point to Warnock. But if you compare that to the last few polls that have underestimated the GOP by 1.4%, they're factoring that in and saying actually Walker is probably up. So I appreciate that these things are now being included in the data across the board. And so instead of picking out individual ones, I think this is a very good job that Real Clear Politics is doing of averaging the average over the last several cycles as well. I just think that we can trust the polls more now because of things like that, building in these safeguards. And I think it's looking pretty good.
But how do you know those safeguards? Like, again, I still say the purpose of polls is a persuasive tool. It's who designed them, who commissioned them. The very fact that they say that our polls undercount Republicans and they don't actually correctly count Republicans tells me that they're unreliable.
It's all very true. But if they're undercounting Republicans this year, one of the reasons they've been talking about that is because Republicans, especially Trump voters, tend to not want to respond to polls, so they're harder to poll even for Trafalgar.
But that's speculation.
It is speculation, but it's based on the last couple cycles in which that has been true.
Which that was speculative too, because they don't actually know.
Well, we do because that's in retrospect now, so we can see in hindsight that was true. So they're using that data.
Well, all we
to
can see in
project onto
hindsight
this.
is that they were inaccurate.
Yes.
But we don't know why. We're speculating that it was because Republicans just didn't answer the polls.
No, we can see that they didn't. We can see that Republicans didn't answer the polls.
Or they weren't asked.
In 2016 and especially in 2020. And so we'll see how that bears out in the midterms. But it is looking like, again, Republicans are going to have a good year. Overall.
According to what? I mean...
According to the polls, Andy. According to the polls.
Anyway.
You're looking at now, sir.
Yeah.
Everything that happens now is happening now. What happened to then? Past then. When? Just now. We're at now. Go Go back to then.
When?
Now.
Now?
Now. I can't. Why?
We missed it.
When? Just now. When will then be now? Soon.
You could just pull out Brad and I's last 30 seconds and replace that with Spaceballs.
I just heard sound.
Yeah.
I was thinking, man, I'm glad Brad's doing this and I don't have to. This would be a great time to mention the Annie Frey YouTube live chat poll. Is it important to you that the likely GOP House majority commit now to impeach Joe Biden? Yes, they should commit. No, not a priority for me. He should not be impeached. Go vote. We'll be back with Jim Carafano.
Oh, Hank, what a wonderful spider web you have built for us. I love this fabulous space we have right here in the corner of the kitchen.
Thanks, Charlotte. I think I'll build us a vacation web in the coat closet. Maybe even one in Susie's room, too. Oh, no. It's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Air comfort service on a chilly, rainy day like today. You might want to make sure your furnace is in good working order. You can reach out to the friends at Air Comfort Service by calling 314-513-0091. They'll get you in your comfort zone real fast. They have for me in my house, we had an air conditioner issue. It was blowing, wasn't cooling. And then, of course, a couple days after Christmas, our furnace was blowing and not heating. I want with the people who I trust to come into my home to take care of whatever the situation is and to give me honest information and choices after the fact. That's what Air Comfort Service did to us in both circumstances. We also had them come out and do an AeroSeal duct sealing. Now, as energy prices are skyrocketing, make sure that the ductwork in your house is not leaking air all over the place where it's not supposed to be, that the air that you're blowing through the house is getting to the destination to heat it and to cool it the way it's supposed to. They can come out to your house and seal up your ventilation so that it can dramatically improve the airflow in your home. Means you have to run your unit less. You can call them at 314-513-0091 or reach out to Air Comfort Service online, aircomfortservice.com.
I'm Eric Robert with Stifel. The economy is always changing, but what does it mean for your investments? Join me and fellow Stifel financial advisor Bob Stockdale during On the Money, Saturday mornings from 11 until noon on 97.1 FM Talk. Stifel, member NYSE and SIPC.
Rankin Jordan Pediatric Bridge Hospital, where more than half of the kids depend on respiratory therapists to help them breathe. Rankin Jordan wishes to thank all therapists from across the region during Respiratory Care Week. RankinJordan.org.
KFTK FM Florissant.
Driven by the Bommarito Automotive Group.
97.1 FM Talk.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
He was killed, had a notebook describing his life as the perfect storm for a mass shooter.
He wrote, quote, "I don't have any friends. I don't have any family. I've never had a girlfriend. I've never had a social life. I've been an isolated loner my entire life."
St. Louis Police Commissioner Michael Sack also says the gunman used an AR-15 style rifle and had hundreds of rounds of ammunition. The FBI assisting in the investigation. Orlando Harris had graduated from that school last year. He was killed in a shootout with police. His attack left a 15-year-old girl and a teacher dead and 7 others injured, some of them apparently hurt while jumping out of the 3-story building. Mexico says remain in Mexico is over. The Trump-era program had forced many asylum seekers to wait in Mexico for immigration hearings. And over the summer, the Biden administration won a court fight to end it. Mexico's foreign ministry just announcing it is now done, but that Mexico will still guarantee adequate stay and protection for migrants already there under the program. It's debate night in Pennsylvania, the only debate planned in the hotly contested Senate race between Republican Dr. Mehmet Oz and Democratic Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, who continues recovery from a stroke.
There will not be a live audience. There will be live closed captioning as per Fetterman's request as he continues to recover from a stroke that he suffered in May. And his campaign is downplaying expectations, acknowledging Oz's decades-long experience as a TV host means, quote, Oz clearly comes into Tuesday night with a huge built-in advantage.
Fox's Brian Yennis in Harrisburg. Pennsylvania, one of 4 states, still a toss-up in the new Fox News power rankings, leaving control of the Senate up in the air. Republicans are projected to win a 16-seat House majority, though. That's one more than last week's forecast. America is listening to Fox News.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
It's a new day because COVID vaccines just got a big update. So all the big stuff coming up this fall, well, now you can say, you bet I'll be there. Because updated COVID vaccines protect against both the original COVID virus and Omicron. And everyone 5 and older can get one. So this is a moment we've all been waiting for.
Find updated COVID vaccines at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
The windshield wipers getting a heavy-duty workout this afternoon. Rain, spot thunderstorms, heavy downpours at times, gusty winds from the northwest. So we're mainly in the 50s now the rest of the day. Colder tonight, down to 42. The rain doesn't end, though, until late night. Wednesday, lots of sunshine, but it's a windy and chilly day. 62, less wind Thursday, sunny and 62 again. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
97.1 has you covered on election night. Hosted by Mark Reardon, plus expert takes from 97.1 political insiders throughout the evening. Your home for conservative talk. Decision 2022. Sponsored by Air Comfort Service and TR Hughes Homes.
The football season is building up, and so are your carpets, floors, and even air ducts with all that dirt and dander. So it's time to call Zero Res and beat the holiday rush and save. Appointments are booking up fast. Be sure to call My Carpet Heroes at Zero Res. And before you turn on your furnace too much this winter, do you know how much built-up dirt, dander, and other allergens are lurking in the air duct system? You can do something about it because your home will never really get clean if those ducts are pumping it full of years of built-up dust, dirt, and allergens. And every surface Zero Res cleans is specifically designed to preserve and maximize the life of your investments in your home or your surfaces in your home. This month's Mark Reardon special is the more you clean, the more you save. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 or 5 rooms starting at $199. That's a 43% savings. Book now to get the best carpet cleaning deal of the season. And don't forget about those air ducts, $75 off any air duct cleaning package. The deals won't last long. Beat the rush and book today. Call Zero Res 314-474-2020 or online at ZeroResSTL.com and say you want the Mark Reardon special. And right now, Zero Res is hiring. Zero Res, spell it backward or forward, it spells the same.
Clement Auto Group is hosting another trunk or treat for the kiddos.
We're inviting all the listeners to bring their kids, the dogs, and trunk or treat with us on Saturday, October 22nd from 1 to 4 p.m.
Music, game, prizes, and most of all,
lots of candy for your kids.
Come out Saturday, October 22nd to Clement Pre-Owned in Florissant.
So Foley Dental Group is the place that I take my family to have their teeth cleaned. I take my family there to have like bigger things assessed that have to do with dental care, that have to do with cavities, of course, but also things like my son has a tongue tie, and I went to Foley Dental Group to assess that, and we're going to get that taken care of there. I trust Foley Dental Group with my children. I trust them with my own mouth, and my experience of going to get my dental care handled at Foley Dental Group has been amazing every time. I have a little bit of anxiety of going in and having people rooting around in my mouth and, you know, doing the cleaning and stuff. Sometimes if you have sensitive gums or whatever, that can be an uncomfortable situation. Even the most basic experiences at Foley Dental Group are going to provide you with maximum comfort and assurance that you're getting the best care that exists. And I will add into that, I've had a cavity filled at multiple cavities. They made sure they did everything they could to get it absolutely 100% right. They went the extra mile, and they care for the people, their whole health, that come to see them at Foley Dental Group. They are taking new patients right now. You can go to FoleyDentalGroup.com.
We're all on this planet together, so join Odyssey and find your one thing. After Halloween, your used jack-o'-lantern and other gourds are great additions to any compost pile. Join Odyssey, and together, each of us doing one thing makes a greener tomorrow. What's your one thing?
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. We are grateful that you are spending a little bit of your rainy St. Louis afternoon here with us. There are so many issues that we talk about on a regular basis. Of course, we are keeping our eyes and ears on the aftermath of the shooting that took place at the St. Louis Public School yesterday, and we will continue to update you on any details that emerge if they are to come through during our show, so keep it right here. There are a lot of things that Americans are concerned about right now. There is crime. There are mental health issues that I feel are very much so not getting addressed. But on a global stage, it's even broader than that. Americans right now do not feel safe and secure pretty much anywhere they pivot, and something is going to need to change in order to provide that security. The person who's watching that on a daily basis, professionally, the Vice President for Foreign and Security Policy at Heritage Foundation, Jim Carafano. He joins us now, as he does each Tuesday. Jim, welcome back to the show.
Hey, I'm happy with you. Somebody sent me a little text picture of somebody with a little baby.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
So it's pretty exciting.
Yes.
So you feeling the heat in the competition now? Is Katie she on your heels?
A little bit, yeah. Katie had her baby, and she's a beautiful baby, and everybody is doing fantastic and wonderful, and we're very happy for her here. The baby, yeah. That is, I'm gonna tie that back in to what I was talking about right now, because I think people are looking forward to their future generations right now and wondering if the state of affairs that we're in this moment right now are making this a safer country for our children, or if we're working in a direction against providing a secure country, secure borders, a secure relationship with our foreign neighbors. I'm wondering what you think about that one, because I know you got some youngins around you as well.
Yeah, well, that's so true. And, and it's, look, I don't want to make this, them against us, but these are two fundamentally different thoughts, which is people who theoretically are going to do things that do well for everybody. And it just so happens that their theory of what's good for everybody happens to be wonderful for them. It gets them red carpet moments, vacations in Miami, adoring fans, millions and millions. They come into office, and as bartenders, and they leave as multimillionaires. And it just so happens that all the things which bring shower and riches and wealth and advantage to them, whether you're, Black Lives Matter leader, buying multiple mansions, all those things you just believe are wonderful for humanity. And then there are the rest of us who say, look, it's what people see when they wake up in the morning in front of them that really matters. So when you see 5 million illegal aliens coming into this country as an additional burden, and there's no other way to put that, unprecedented opioid deaths, record levels of crime, and and close now to 100 terrorists on the terrorist watch list being arrested. That's when we say, no, this isn't better. And for you to sit there at the White House press conference and say, oh, this is ever great, and we're just helping the world out, this is all nonsense. So yeah, and this is why you and I and other people like us stand up and go to work every day and say, look, we just call balls and strikes here, and none of this is making the world a better place. Nothing in the last 2 years that I can think of, other than the birth of my grandson, has and he will save the world, I'm very sure of this, has made the world a better place.
Jim Carafano with us right now. Once you become a parent, and once you become, I'm sure, a grandparent, it's a different version of it. You really do start to see things outside of yourself. If you don't have kids, that doesn't mean you're incapable of doing that, but you don't really have a choice. Once you are solely responsible for the protection, the safety, and security of these little people who now look at you and rely on you for the preservation of their life. And I think that in the spoils of the success of an American society, in a country that is thrived in a way that no country has ever thrived before, especially in this short amount of time, that it's easy to, under the umbrella of those spoils, dabble in a few things that sound good to the ear that don't require you to think that deeply about, and you can kind of lend over your heart without having to tap into your brain. And I feel like on a lot of these different fronts right now, of course, politically is where you make adjustments accordingly, but it's very difficult to look forward on pretty much any issue facing an American voter and citizen today and feel like we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, and this is the difference, right? Between it's the seduction of self versus what you just said, that the notion of selfless service to others, right? Wouldn't you want, the seduction? Don't you just want your own pronouns? Don't you want to be considered a victim? Don't you want more reparations? I mean, it's just everything about identity politics. It's all about you. It's all about your suffering. It's all about you as a victim. It's all about you deserving more, right? I mean, it's almost like you're watching a replay of Faust with the devil just saying, you should be about you. And the reality is it's not about them. It's about other people getting political power and you handing it over to them over this promise of something that's not real, as opposed to what actually brings you joy and fulfillment in life is doing things that are worthwhile, not getting stuff, but doing things that are worthwhile, raising a child, going to work, praying in church, things that bring value to everything is ultimately what brings value to you. I was in the military for 25 years, and the ultimate act, the ultimate selfish act, the ultimate thing of it's all about me is making it all about everybody else.
That's such a smart and thoughtful way to put it. And I think about if you were an alien life form, if you were an alien life form from another planet and you landed in America and you flipped on the TV and you saw these campaign ads, and all it was a bunch of people talking about how much this other person sucks and how terrible they are and all of the terrible things that they did, I find that it would be very hard to be inspired by anybody who wants to represent you, because all it is right now is a slap fight to get people as worked up as they possibly can until the election. And that demeans so much of the purpose of that very election. I have to think that you, being a policy person who knows the ins and outs and the details, especially about the big issues in the world, I would think that this would be especially frustrating to consume.
Well, actually, I think it's really funny because, it's okay, dirty politics and mudslinging as usual, which we always say, but it used to be in the old days, right, is, my opponent is a cad and an evil person and a philanderer, and an axe murderer, right? And now when you actually listen to the ads from the left, to me, they almost sound like advertising. I mean, they're like, cue the dramatic music and the little quiet voice saying, this person's pro-life. I'm like, when I hear that, I'm like, oh, that sounds like advertising to me. And you're portrayed like this person's they're pro-life and they want low taxes. And oh my God, they like oil and gas. Isn't that horrible? And I'm like,
sounds pretty good. I think you've done the job for the other person. I mean, how many of these basic policy positions, Jim, like in a political climate, how many of these basic policy positions that you see when you're consuming these ads, just like the rest of us are as voters, do you feel like you could have a policy position? It's just where you fall on an issue. It's just presumed that people are going to hear that and just melt into a heap of frustrated goo and obviously run out and go vote for the other guy.
Yeah, to me, this is, I think, kind of throwback to the Youngkin thing where they were attacking Youngkin for being pro-Trump, attacking Youngkin for being, against teachers unions, attacking Youngkin for being against out-of-control school boards, and everybody else said, oh, my God, this is a great reason to vote for this guy. So, it is startling. And, again, I don't do politics, but, I observe them because I have to, because that's how policy gets made in this cauldron. When you look at the priorities of that the left and the right are pushing the election. I mean, on one side, it's just bread and butter issues: secure border, less immigration, lower inflation. And on the other side, it's climate change and diversity and equity and neutral bathrooms. And They're just, I mean, they couldn't be and the funny thing is, and I think it says a lot about who they are, and people can speak for themselves, but both sides really believe that those things are most important. And to me, honestly, as opposed to being the worst of elections, to me, this is the best election. You have people who are passionately giving you very different ideas, and you get to choose which one you think is important. The only thing I will say is, and I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem somebody doing an ad and saying, no, the most important thing in the world is climate change, and if you don't get that, you're a yahoo. And the other person saying, no, the most important thing in the world is you can afford to buy gas to drive to work, and if you don't think that, you're a yahoo. I think that's great. What I don't have much stomach for is people that get on there and say, if the other person wins, that's a threat to democracy.
Ugh. How is it that the policy is you can only vote for one party, otherwise democracy dies? That sounds like fascism.
It's just complete. Literally, they said if you vote for the other person, that is a threat to democracy. And look, we've heard it on both sides. For Hillary Clinton basically to get on there and say, and they're going to steal the election in 2024, we're just, exactly the kind of things that they accused Donald Trump of saying. This to me these are people that have crossed over. And they have truly lost their minds. And this is we've taken the policy differences and somehow we've confused them with good and evil.
Yeah. Yes.
Look, I have lots of friends that are very passionate about climate change, and I want to deal with climate change. It's the only blue dot we have. I completely disagree with them on climate policy. I still like them, and I don't think they're evil. I think they're wrong, but I don't think they're evil. But when we elevate this thing to, if you disagree with the policy, I am that you're evil. That is fascism. You're right.
And don't you think, we're sitting about 30 hours from a school shooting, 6.5 miles from where I sit right now in St. Louis. And two people died. The shooter was shot dead, from what I understand, by the police officers that went immediately to the issue here in St. Louis. Right. But you said that they confuse politics with good and evil. When we dumb down the idea of good and evil to be on the level of politics, we're really, really missing the mark in combating specifically evil.
Right. And it's this complete lack of proportionality. Okay, it's 1860 whatever, and we're debating slavery. Okay, I get that it's a policy difference. It's also a difference between good and evil. I get that. It's why people went out and fought a civil war. It's why the single greatest number of deaths in American history in a single battle was Gettysburg, where people are fighting over this. But but here we are sitting and talking about neutral, gender appropriate bathrooms and whether men can, be on a women's swimming team. And we are equating that with the debate over slavery. I mean, this is nuts. I mean, there's no sense of proportionality. I mean, we have an opioid genocide going on. And I think that's a pretty serious issue, but we can't talk about that because half of the political elite can't argue that open border policies is bad, and so because they can't say that, they can't talk about the opioid genocide that's killing our children. There's just this lack of proportionality. But we take the little things and we just make them so extreme in our lives. So.
Jim, before I let you go, just about a minute here left. When you are looking at the midterms as they're coming towards us, I'm not going to ask you who to vote for or which party you're supporting, but where are the offices? What races specifically, like House, Senate, whatever, state, whatever, that can really make a difference and an impact on the border issues that we face, the China relationship that we question, what's going on in Russia and Ukraine? So where do we make a difference in the midterm? I'm
going to give you an answer that you probably don't expect. I think the most important races going on in America today, because look, we all know it doesn't matter if Republicans take the House and the Senate, there's still a Democratic president, and they don't have a supermajority, so it's not like they can turn U.S. policy on its head overnight. The most important races in America today are at the state and local level, because that's where the new American center is going to get. Look, we can't yell at each other forever. We're going to go hoarse. Eventually, we have to settle on a normal of what is the center of America. And the answer is we're either going to be a center-right nation or we're going to be a center-left nation. And that's not going to get decided by a bunch of people in Washington, reaching some grand bipartisan compromise. It's going to get decided by the communities of this country that create the preponderance of what people want, and that's going to happen at the state and local level. So I think in this election, actually, what happens at the state and local level in the long-term health of this country is more important than who we send to Washington.
Man, well, you heard it right here. Jim Carafano, Vice President for Foreign and Security Policy at Heritage. Know what's going on in your neighborhood, folks. It really does matter. Jim, thank you so much. We love talking to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Bye-bye. At JJ Carafano on Twitter. Go tell him hi. We're going to take a quick break, and then we are going to swing around to the northeast side of the state of Illinois and speak to Dan Proft, the prominent and prolific conservative voice in Illinois. Yeah, Dan Proft in Chicago, co-host of the Morning Drive show on Chicago's conservative destination station. You want to hear what we're going to talk about next. What's Illinois going to look like in this midterm? Do they stand a chance on the Republican side of the ticket? What is happening in Chicago? Dan Proft when we come back.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
You should see the things we do, baby.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
The Mark Reardon Show.
On the next Mark Reardon Show, what is the truth about the COVID mortality rate? You might be surprised. Plus, the very latest on the school shooting.
Weekdays from 3 to 6 on 97.1 FM Talk.
So hairsaloon.com, I'm looking at the website right now. It's pretty simple to navigate. You can book an appointment right now by visiting hairsaloon.com. They have 16 area locations, Missouri, Illinois. They got you covered. Reach out to them and schedule your appointment for the first time or for the next time with the very best in the business. The people who are very dedicated to making sure that men feel accounted for, that men are treated the way men should be treated. They have a wonderful line of products that you can enjoy. My husband uses their hair product. My son used to, but now has long flowing hair. We just get it trimmed up at Hair Saloon to keep it. The children, the boys call it the flow. I've learned this. But if you want to keep your flow, just grown men say this to your kids and just say it casually, like, I got to go get my flow taken care of. And the kids will look at you like, what are you talking about? They support everyday heroes. They give a 25% discount to people who are in law enforcement, first responders, veterans. They work to make sure that the people get treated the way they should be treated, because gentlemen deserve a space too. It's at Hair Saloon. All the details online at hairsaloon.com.
I'm Howard Mackler of GetRefunds.com. You might have heard me talk about the payroll tax refund for businesses who kept employees on payroll during COVID. But today, I'm not going to do the talking. I'm letting a real Get Refunds client tell you everything.
I'm Jason Hall, owner of Washington Crab in North Carolina. We are a seafood company with a couple restaurants and a big catering operation. COVID stopped us dead in our tracks, literally having to lock our doors to follow government shutdown orders. I learned about the payroll tax refund through research of COVID relief programs. I initially asked my CPA if I was eligible for the program, and she told me no. I heard about GetRefunds.com while listening to the radio. I reached out to them, and they immediately started helping me file a claim. They quickly got me approved for a payroll tax refund, and with that capital, I kept my staff employed, and I'm weathering this recession and high inflation. If you have a business, you should go to GetRefunds.com and start your claim now.
GetRefunds.com helped their business, and we can help yours too. Go to GetRefunds.com, powered by Innovation Refunds.
Paid for by Blaine for Congress.
I'm Blaine Lutkemeyer, and I approve this message.
We've seen some price increases. Some folks have raised worries that this could be a sign of persistent inflation, but that's not our view.
Reality is, inflation is now at a 40-year high, costing the typical family over $700 more every month just to stay even. That's the Biden extremist tax you pay every day. You pay it at the gas pump because of the extremist war against American energy, shutting down pipelines and using red tape to stop new development. You pay it in the devastation in your retirement account. You pay it in the border crisis and out-of-control crime wave. And now, they've driven America into a recession. Our most powerful weapon to stop them is our vote. It's in our hands to stop the damage they're doing to our families and America. November 8th, vote.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules.
Where are you now when darkness seems to win? Where are you now when the world is crumbling?
The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
I hear you say, look up, child. Hey, look up, child. Hey, where are you now? When all I feel is
Absolutely. If we had more competition, if we had more school choice, we wouldn't have seen the school closures as long as we did over the past couple of years. Another study by Michael Hartney, Boston College professor, and his co-author, Leslie Finger, published in a peer-reviewed journal earlier this year, found that public schools that had more Catholic private schools in the area, the public schools were more likely to open as well, all else equal, suggesting
Interesting.
if families had exit options, even though they still had to pay out of pocket, there were lower cost exit options in the Catholic schools. The public schools responded to that competition as well, as we see in every other industry and every other level of education.
So you're suggesting to me that there was influence on the public schools that were surrounded by Catholic schools that happened to be opening to get their butts open and get the kids back in the classroom as well. Well, listen, in the state of Illinois, we understand that the massive authority-seeking governor that we have in the state of Illinois, how he is constantly looking to manipulate and manage your life, how it has hurt Illinois kids across the state. It's going to have a lasting lifetime effect. Now the question comes when the CDC steps up and says, yeah, we're going to recommend the COVID shot and boosters for these kids to make sure that they have that as part of their vaccination schedule. Do you want a governor who's going to mandate that in order for your child to go to school that they need to have that? If you don't, you have to vote for Darren Bailey. J.B. Pritzker is the most power-hungry governor in this country. And I say this all the time. New York and California get a ton of attention when it comes to super blue states with super blue progressive policies. Illinois gets looked over all the time. They use our state as a test kitchen for these radical leftist progressive ideas. And J.B. Pritzker, who is governor of the state of Illinois right now, wants to take it all the way to the White House after he gets done destroying the state of Illinois. You know who knows about this as well? Dan Proft. He is my friend from the 560 The Answer. You can learn about him more on 560theanswer.com. The voice of conservatism in Chicago joins us now. Dan, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for fitting us into your afternoon.
Thank you, Annie. Appreciate it.
So when you are covering this race specifically, I want to talk about Darren Bailey, the Republican candidate for governor in the state of Illinois, running against J.B. Pritzker. You're in Chicago. I'm sure it's a very different experience as to what we have downstate, where the grassroots behind Darren Bailey really did start. What's your experience covering this particular race?
Well, look, I mean, here's another opportunity for Illinoisans to chart a different course, to try the one thing that we haven't tried since I've been alive, that's 50 years, which is conservative reform that we've seen tried in all our neighboring states, every state that is adjacent to Illinois. And a lot of them are doing it right now, Indiana, Missouri, Iowa. I think Wisconsin may go back to a Scott Walker play after their dalliance with Tony Evers. So, it's not like this is conservative reform. Common sense conservatism is foreign to the Midwest. It just seems to be foreign to Illinois, and it's been to our great detriment. Illinois leads the nation in unemployment, highest unemployment rate, worst credit rating, highest combined state and local tax burden. And as we know, as you know, people are fleeing the state like it's on fire. I mean, fleeing Southern Illinois for Missouri and Kentucky and just about anywhere else, which is the biggest indictment of all. People don't want to stay here, don't see a future in this state, which is why we lost another congressman after this census. So the opportunity is to say all those policies you were running through and all the money that's been spent and all the taxes that have been imposed, and where do we find ourselves? We find ourselves the worst governed state in American history with the biggest with the biggest city being the worst governed big city in America. So here's an opportunity to once again decide to hold people in charge accountable for what has occurred on their watch. And you were talking about the impact of his COVID lockdown policies. This is a governor that leads the nation in emergency declarations for COVID. They continue. And so will Illinoisans hold people in power accountable for what they do while they're given this opportunity and make a change? And that's essentially the fundamental question. It used to be just in terms of your economic security, maybe the quality of the schools your kids had access to, like you were describing. Now it's literally your personal safety, with Illinois having the most permissive, no cash bail, release of violent offenders law on the books that's set to take effect January 1. And that's going to impact Missouri, too.
Yeah, it certainly is. Dan Proft with us right now, co-host of the Morning Drive Show in Chicago, editorial contributor to the Chicago Tribune, as well as senior fellow at the Illinois Policy Institute. Dan, I'm looking right now at the 2014 Illinois gubernatorial election results. Bruce Rauner, I have been critical of Bruce Rauner, but I happily was casting a vote for him in 2018. He would have been much better than J.B. Pritzker, of course. But Bruce Rauner got 50.3% of the vote in November of 2014. He only lost one county, Cook County, of course, around Chicago. What were Illinoisans thinking in 2014? Looking at Pat Quinn, a re-election of Pat Quinn, saying, you know what, we've had enough of this. I think we're going to try something else in Bruce Rauner. Compare Illinois voters in 2014 to where they might be feeling right now in 2022.
Well, I mean, things have gotten worse. Things have deteriorated since 2014, and the funny money we got from the feds for COVID is dissipating, and you're starting to see the wreckage left on shore. In 2014, you had an accidental governor, Pat Quinn, took over when Blagojevich was taken away by the feds, and then he won an election in a wave year in 2010 that he shouldn't have won. Bill Brady sort of fumbled that election away. And there was an opportunity because Pat Quinn was sort of a gadfly. He wasn't really part of the Chicago power structure, the men and women of always in Chicago. So he didn't have the sort of party support. He didn't have the sort of resources that normally a Democrat from the city will have. And Bruce Rauner came in with his own money and a message of being this first-time candidate, turnaround artist. And people, were hopeful that he could do that. It didn't work out that way. He wasn't a very good governor. I would agree with you. He made some catastrophic mistakes, bad policy choices. And so then you had the reversion back to the mean of, trade out the billionaire on the R side for the billionaire on the D side, and we get J.B. Pritzker because of that failure. But it is interesting to note, Rauner came in promising common sense conservatism. He lost because he didn't deliver on that. So this is what I think provides some hope that, especially now when you layer in this personal safety concern with the lawlessness in Chicagoland, and I don't just mean the city, I mean Chicagoland, like northeastern Illinois, that's going on, and how much worse it will be if this law that Pritzker signed goes into effect, ending cash bail, that there's an opportunity for voters to return to that sensibility of saying, let's have, a problem solver, common sense conservative. Let's give that a try.
We're speaking with Dan Proft. He's a co-host of the Morning Drive Show on 560 The Answer in Chicago. And he also contributes to the Chicago Tribune and Illinois Policy Institute. I look at this race. I've worked with Darren Bailey and a lot of these Southern Illinois and Central Illinois legislators over the course of the last probably 5 years, and just being at events and watching them do kind of what you would expect from a Southern Illinois Republican is going to look a little bit different than a Chicago Republican. Maybe somebody who's a little disenchanted with the Democratic Party, doesn't like these super progressive emotional issues that a lot of candidates are running on. And there has been some dissent between Southern Illinois and Chicago. I contest that Illinois cannot be the strong state that it really should achieve to be if these two don't figure out a way to work together. This election on November 8th, a midterm for the country, but a very important election for the state of Illinois, is going to need to see those two entities work together in the best possible way. What's your assessment of what Chicago is feeling when it comes to the ballot box come this election night?
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, it's really a unique thing. I just go back to the Safety Act, the so-called Safety Act. People, I'm sure, have heard about the Purge Law, as it's more colloquially known. You have 100 of 102 county state's attorneys that are opposed to this law. You have 58 of the 102 county state's attorneys who filed suit to seek a declaration that the law is unconstitutional and prevent it from being implemented on January 1. You have a bunch of Southern Illinois Democrat county prosecutors like Justin Hood and others who have written letters talking about the lawlessness that will come if this law is put into effect, the danger, the literal physical danger it puts their communities in and their law-abiding residents in. And I just think that sort of bipartisan agreement about something that is so obviously bad for law-abiding Illinois families. I mean, if that's not a referendum question for an election, then I don't know what is. If that's not something where people can agree to disagree about tax policy or pension funding or school choice and some other issues, but the fundamental responsibility of government at every level to provide for the physical security of constituents, and that's not going to happen if this governor stays in power and this law goes into effect. I mean, I can't think of a more compelling issue that brings people together across the political spectrum.
I completely agree with that. Dan Proft joining us right now. He's a radio show host in Chicago and the conservative voice that many people in the state of Illinois come to rely on. You know, I have people comment all the time on our live chat, send me messages to our show broadcast saying, Darren Bailey, like, I don't see ads for him. He should be slamming J.B. Pritzker on these issues. Talk to me about the background of running as a Republican against J.B. Pritzker funny money in the state of Illinois. What people see on their screens and their YouTube videos that they're watching and wherever they're consuming ads. What is Darren Bailey up against when it comes to J.B. Pritzker?
Well, I mean, look, I also run an independent expenditure PAC that's supporting Bailey, support him in the primary, so obviously continue to support him in the general. We've spent about $40 million on political communications on the Safety Act and other issues, promoting Bailey and going after Pritzker on the salient issues of the day, both economic and the Safety Act, the personal safety issue. And Darren's been up with his own ads, introducing himself to the state and conveying that he's a practical problem solver and that's what farmers do. They solve problems. He's a practical guy. He's not this ideologue that J.B. Pritzker is attempting to paint him as, and so forth. And but that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that I've spent, and when you layer in Darren Bailey's money, campaign money, that's a lot that he spent too. But of course, Pritzker has put in $145 million of his own money.
It's unbelievable.
So. I mean, so that's what we're up against. We're up against that in a state where Biden has a 50% approval rating, which is 25% higher than his national average, in a state where the generic ballot is +7 Democrat, in a state that has gone for a Republican candidate for president since George H.W. Bush in 1988. So there's a lot of headwinds that we're running into. But I say again, this referendum question on personal safety is a transcendental one. And I think it has the potential to provide the opportunity for a real upset on November 8th.
Last question before we let you go, speaking with Dan Proft. I've tweeted this out recently. I lay in bed awake at night thinking, what else can I do? How can I contribute more? Where can I go? What can I do? And I'm constantly trying to push out to people who feel helpless and hopeless in this state of Illinois to do something, that maybe they've never done anything political in their lives before, that the time is now before Election Day. Of course, they have to vote. There's a window of time where they can be a part of the solution. What are your requests or suggestions for people who feel that motivation in their gut to do more? If they've never done anything before, where do you suggest that they start?
Don't listen to the prognosticators. Don't do that. Don't cop out and say, oh, well, it's lost and so on and so forth, and use that as an excuse to not participate. Act in furtherance of what you would like to see happen. That's what people should do. That's how the revolts that brought Donald Trump to the White House in 2016 happened. People said, I'm going to act in furtherance of what I want to see happen. I don't care what the polls say. I don't care what the pundits say. And I'm going to tell my friends. So within your circles of influence, whether that's through social media or your church group or fraternal organizations that you're a member of and so on and so forth, make the case, spread the word, provide the information, be the opinion leader within your circles of influence where you have relationships that the candidates don't have, to provide the information that persuades people to your way of thinking, at least for this specific race in this specific election.
Absolutely. Dan Proft, thank you for your time today. We appreciate you and everything that you're doing to try to shore up some common sense here in the state of Illinois. And we hope to be celebrating on November 8th along with you and all of your efforts to get us back to some normalcy. Thanks for your time today.
Pleasure. Thanks, Annie.
All right. Bye-bye. MorningAnswerChicago.com. If you want to learn more about Dan Proft, you can find him on Twitter at Dan Proft. He is a leader voice in Chicago in the conservative common sense movement, and we were grateful for his time today. Let's take a quick break. More Annie Frey Show when we come back. How about that YouTube live chat poll? Is it important to you that the likely GOP House majority commit now to impeach Joe Biden? You have three options. Yes, they should commit. No, not a priority for me. Or thirdly, he shouldn't be impeached. Go give us your vote and maybe leave a comment as to why you voted the way you did. Go to youtube.com/@AnnieFrey and cast your vote. Leave a comment. We'll be back with more Annie Frey Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk, 97.1 FM Talk.
The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
You want to retire soon, but everyone keeps telling you to wait until you're 65. After all, that's the age that you qualify for Medicare and you're close to full retirement age. I'm Marvin Mitchell, president of Compass Retirement Solutions. In my new book, Retire Early, The 9 Critical Decisions When Retiring Before 65, I discuss proper planning to help make early retirement possible. When to take Social Security, what to do with your 401k, health care, how to maximize retirement income, and much more. Get a complimentary copy of Retire Early by calling 1-800-743-8510. That's 1-800-743-8510. Can you retire early? Call 1-800-743-8510 for your copy of Retire Early, the 9 critical decisions when retiring before 65.
Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois. Compass Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
So Stewart's American Mortgage, a destination place for you folks. 314-324-4440. Will you give Stewie a call and talk to him about your economic situation? If you're feeling the pinch, lots of people who aren't used to feeling the pinch are feeling the pinch. If you are used to feeling a pinch in your economic situation, be it COVID related and you haven't really landed the job that maybe you lost after the pandemic, or things just haven't settled down the way they needed to, and you need to consider a refinance on your mortgage, you might be thinking this isn't the time to do that because rates have gone up. Well, what are you juggling right now? What other kind of high interest debt do you have? Would the equity in your home be served better for your debt to refinance that high interest credit card debt to a lower interest with your mortgage? And when you use the bagel loan, you don't pay any fees that other lenders out there will charge you for. And listen, when rates go back down again, you can refinance again and not pay any of those fees. Bagel loan, you get the picture. Stewie is in your corner. He's been in my corner twice, and our economic situation has been much improved because of our time spent working with him. 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Google the bagel loan, NMLS number 226715.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
At Shane Company, our jewelry consultants are welcoming, friendly, and knowledgeable. They don't work on commission, so you'll never feel rushed or pressured to buy. Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and shaneco.com.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Studio. Air Comfort Service is proud to support Greater St. Louis Honor Flight. Sign your veteran up for their honor flight today at gslhonorflight.org, and for heating services, visit aircomfortservice.com.
We know you won't hear it all, so we're highlighting as it happens on the socials. Follow 97.1 on Twitter and Facebook and weigh in. They can't ban all of us. This is the Annie Frey Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Frey Show.
To life, things took a political turn, meaning when lefties lose an election, then they come after you. Politics is now more personal than your hygiene. And because the woke are miserable, they need to spread the misery everywhere. They don't have a life outside of politics. They are, for the most part, sour, unhappy, smug little creeps who were that way in high school, so as adults they hung out with like-minded people to fill the void in their miserable personal lives. Thus, the progressive movement was born. And now, like corn syrup, they want politics integrated into everything. They believe every single part of life is open to political influence, as long as it only comes from them. Now it's in schools, sports, and entertainment. And now they want to target fan bases.
So Gutfeld saying what I think is important for people to understand is like the way that politics has enveloped. It sounds to me like an old, there's probably, what's an 80s, like air quotes, horror film? It's like The Blob. That's from like the 60s or something.
The 80s is going to be like Friday the 13th.
Well, it's like what politics has done is it has infiltrated everything. And as it moves in, it just envelops it, absorbs it, and makes it its own. Mm-hmm. And pretty soon, you can't escape it anywhere, in anything. That's not healthy, which is why, I was speaking with Jim Carafano about this earlier at 105. If you want to listen to that on the Odyssey app, just rewind to about 105 when we started our conversation with him. When you can't escape politics, then the people whose livelihoods are based on your passion for politics, your emotions for politics, they win. And the bastardized version of democracy and government and politics and all those keywords is that we end up serving them and their purposes and their longevity in office. That's bass-ackwards. It needs to be turned on its head. And the only way to do that is to defeat the politics blob and go into the monster and pull out the things that matter more than politics. Brad, you're a pastor. I would assume that religion, let me not assume. Let me ask you the question. The conjunction and the melding of politics and religion, do they belong together?
Hopefully in your life, your faith influences your politics, not the other way around. So whenever I look at politics, whenever I look at faith, to me, faith is something that should be an all-encompassing blob in your life. It is the matrix through which you live life. It's the matrix through which you make your decision.
Whatever your faith is.
It's where you get your values. Wherever you get your values, that's where you make your decisions. For me, that is my faith. So therefore, when I look at politics, my faith plays a role in how I view politics and how I think, share, vote, all of that other stuff. It plays all that role. But what I can't do is let politics become my faith. So there's a difference there, and it's really easy to get those wires crossed.
Isn't it when you're observing things, like as you're saying, as a man of faith, but also as the producer of a large market midday talk radio show, and you see, and boy, this is bipartisan. This is not an Annie Frey show. It's attacking liberal Democrats again. Nope, it's on both sides. 100% bipartisan issue. That the worship and the people's hope is rooted squarely in their said politician. And it gets very much so put in the place of the other priorities in their life. As you said, for you, it's faith. Faith is the driving factor. My Christian faith is my driving factor. But you really don't need to have a Christian foundation to morally understand that the direction that these progressive policies is taking our country is destructive to the whole fabric of our existence.
Right. You can just look at the results. You don't have to have a predictive. Okay, we've tried these things now for, I think, we're going on 2 years, and the outcomes, the results, it's not good. I mean, the reason you know it's not good is because whenever a politician runs, they like to run on the good things. They don't have anything good to run on. They don't say, look at what we did here. Look at our accomplishments.
It's kind of like what Ron DeSantis said in that debate. And when Ron DeSantis replies to a question in a way that talks about what he did, then The View,
he said you need to force people to shelter in their own homes. That would have destroyed the state of Florida. That would have caused our tourism industry to go into the toilet. It would have locked out millions of kids from school. I rejected Charlie Crist's lockdown letter. I kept this state open, and I kept this state free.
So when Ron DeSantis talks about what he's doing and how he's managing his governorship so far, his first term, then The View steps in. And
when you see him in those carefully crafted conferences, he looks so fired up when he's talking about sending, immigrants to Martha's Vineyard, and when he's talking about sending kids back to school during COVID, and when he's, doing that. So I was surprised he was so wooden. But I think no answer is an answer, and the fact that he did not respond to the 2024 question means he is definitely running against Donald Trump.
But why doesn't he doesn't want the people of Florida to know that?
No, because the people of Florida deserve to have somebody to be there for 4 years.
They might not. He's that boring. They won't even know he's not there.
The entire conversation on The View was centered around whether or not Ron DeSantis will run for president. Ron DeSantis talked in the debate about things that he's done as governor. Ron DeSantis is running for governor again. I'm fairly certain that anybody who would be upset that Ron DeSantis ran for president in 2024 would only be upset that he couldn't do governor and president at the same time. And those people aren't going to revenge not vote for him for president if he's running for president because they're like, we wanted you in Florida. No, they would much rather have Ron DeSantis running the country so that every one of his policies doesn't have to be in a direct, conflict with the policy priorities of the man who is running the show in Washington, D.C. So The View, listening to Sonny Hostin there, and I don't really care what Sonny Hostin has to say, but they are thought leaders. People do care what they have to say. And just because I don't care what the folks on The View are saying doesn't mean that it doesn't have value in other places. And I think that the smart thing to do is to consume these things across the board. We had Dinesh D'Souza on earlier in the show. I think that it's important, whether you agree with him or disagree with him, that you understand the case that he is making. It makes your argument stronger, makes your argument against it stronger. MSNBC has something to say about what The View is suggesting, that Florida doesn't know and doesn't care, and they're not really jazzed by it.
It tells us that he has buy-in, and it confirms a lot of the Republican claims that Hispanic voters are trending further and further to the right in Florida. Now, it's important to point out that a Hispanic voter in Florida is significantly different than a Hispanic voter in other parts of the Sun Belt, but Republicans clearly are effective at messaging to these groups of Hispanic voters in Florida. Right now, DeSantis a 7-point lead over Charlie Crist for this upcoming race, but what's maybe even more telling is his 56% overall approval with likely Hispanic voters in Florida. That tells us that even some Charlie Crist voters support what the governor is doing.
So what's the point? What's the point, folks on The View? The only point that they make in that entire segment where they're trashing Ron DeSantis, not so much for the sake of trashing Ron DeSantis, but because they got to talk about who? Donald Trump. It always comes back to Donald Trump. Their argument against Ron DeSantis is that he's too boring and that the Republicans need Donald Trump to win. Oh, no, 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 no. You ladies on The View need Donald Trump to run. And you ladies on The View probably need him to win. Because if Ron DeSantis were to run for president, if Ron DeSantis were to win the presidency, you don't even know what you're up against. The cult of personality, that's going to be yesterday's news. And, it is called The View for a reason. It's not The Views, because there's only one represented there. And it's really not the view of the American people as a whole at this point in time. Let's get the whole crew in here in the 2 o'clock hour. Back in a minute.
If you own a house in St. Louis and you want to sell it as is without any inspections or need to make any repairs, call Chris Buys Homes St. Louis at 314-782-8000 or at chrisbuyshomesaintlouis.com and get your cash offer without any obligation, commissions, banks, or headaches. Chris buys vacant houses, inherited houses, fixer-uppers, beautiful houses, even the tenant won't pay their rent apartment. Google Chris Buys Homes in St. Louis. That's Chris Buys Homes in St. Louis. And check out the best reviews from satisfied customers. When you sell to Chris, you decide when you want to move, according to your schedule and your terms. Go to chrisbuyshomesinstlouis.com. Google Chris Buys Homes in St. Louis or call 314-782-8000. That's 314-782-8000. And get the offer you have been waiting for. Chris Buys Homes in stlouis.com. chrisbuyshomesinstlouis.com or call 314-782-8000.
This is a great time of the year to upgrade the energy efficiency in your home with my friends at Window World. Mark Cox here to tell you more about my experience with Window World. They replaced a couple of windows at my house. They were just panes of glass. We wanted to be able to get some airflow into the master bathroom. They came out, they gave us a free estimate, and then had the windows at seams installed in no time. Very professional, lifetime warranty I get, and you get an extra double strength glass on their replacement windows that's not common. So you're getting a great price, simply the best for less. They do front entry doors, rear entry doors if you're looking to replace that back door or sliding glass door in your home. They've got a great selection at Window World. They're also right now offering 18 months, same as cash financing, of course, with approved credit. The preferred window of the St. Louis Blues. 314-993-1800, windowworld.com.
KFTK FM Florissant.
Driven by the Bommarito Automotive Group.
97.1 FM Talk.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
It's not about politics. Lisa Brady, Fox News. That's what President Biden says as he urges Americans to put pandemic battles behind them and get an updated COVID shot.
And if you get it, you're protected. And if you don't, you're putting yourself and other people on unnecessary risk.
He says hundreds of people are still dying every day from COVID in the U.S.
That number is likely to rise this winter. But this year is different from the past. This year, nearly every death is preventable. Let me say it again. Nearly every death is preventable.
Adding that one COVID shot per year is all most Americans need. The president also defending his call for more funding to keep fighting COVID after saying last month the pandemic is over, later clarified by the White House as the worst of the pandemic. The president's remarks just before he got the new booster aimed at targeting Omicron variants. The president just posting a message that he and the First Lady are thinking of everyone impacted by the school shooting yesterday in St. Louis and calling for action, including a ban on assault weapons. Police now say the gunman who killed 2 people apparently intended to do much worse.
When Orlando Harris entered Central Visual and Performing Arts High School and opened fire,
he came into the building with more than 600 rounds of ammunition.
Interim Police Chief Lieutenant Colonel Michael Sack added writings were found in the car Harris drove detailing his intent. In it, he said Harris wrote about having no friends, family, or social life, concluding,
"This was the perfect storm for a mass shooter." End quote.
Harris killed an adult and a teenager and wounded several others before he was killed by officers. The investigation is ongoing with the ATF's help into how Harris got the AR-15 he used.
Fox's Gernal Scott just getting word of an earthquake in the Seven Trees region of California that's around San Jose, magnitude 5.1. No early reports of any damage. America is listening to Fox News.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
It's a new day because COVID vaccines just got a big update. So all the big stuff coming up this fall? Well, now you can say, you bet I'll be there. Because updated COVID vaccines protect against both the original COVID virus and Omicron. And everyone 5 and older can get one. So this is a moment we've all been waiting for.
Find updated COVID vaccines at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
The windshield wipers getting a heavy-duty workout this afternoon. Rain, spot thunderstorms, heavy downpours at times, gusty winds from the northwest, so we're mainly in the 50s now the rest of the day. Colder tonight, down to 42. The rain doesn't end, though, until late night. Wednesday, lots of sunshine, but it's a windy and chilly day. 62, less wind Thursday, sunny and 62 again. This is 97.1 FM Talk Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Did you know the Missouri State Treasurer's Office holds over $1 billion of unclaimed property? That's billion with a B. Things like utility deposits or uncashed checks and other money you didn't know was missing. This is Missouri State Treasurer Scott Fitzpatrick. My office wants to return this money to rightful owners, and the average claim is $300. Search your name online 24/7 at showmemoney.com. Claiming your money is always free, so search today at showmemoney.com.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends at ThrottleNet. These are the genius IT guys that I've been representing for years and years now. We are number one all the time. Best in customer service from Small Business Monthly. Best in cybersecurity, again, Small Business Monthly. We have an average response time. I love this statistic. The average response time in St. Louis in 2020 by IT companies. You have a problem, you reach out to them, hey, I'm all shut down, help me, was 3 hours. If you got back within 3 hours, you were cool. Ours was 1 minute, 57 seconds, and the guys were very unhappy with that. It takes less than 2 minutes for us to address your problems. Here's a huge thing. We are now offering $500,000 in ransom protection to everyone who uses us. This is part of the deal. You don't pay extra for it. So if you happen to be hit, and you have to pay, we're going to pay it up to $500,000. Now, this shows you how confident we are because no one under our protection has ever had to pay. Go to throttlenet.com/DGS.
Fall into a hiring spree with Indeed. Their end-to-end hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
We're all on this planet together, so join Odyssey and find your one thing. Now that it's autumn, check window and door seals for proper insulation and replace your furnace air filter. Join Odyssey, and together, each of us doing one thing makes a greener tomorrow. What's your one thing?
Big ideas, real debate, solid entertainment. You found it here.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
97.1 FM Talk.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what you're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday.
the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is anchor man, not anchor lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. Interesting show today. Make sure you check it out on the podcast. You can rewind on the Odyssey app as well. Dinesh D'Souza, Jim Carafano, and Chicago radio host Dan Proft all joined us earlier. Did any of you guys hear us talking in the first segment, Ryan, about what The View was talking about Ron DeSantis?
Yeah, I heard that whole thing. That was ridiculous.
That was terrible.
They're running out of ideas.
I don't know what
they don't even make sense anymore.
No. Who was pushing back in that interview? Because somebody in that room was kind of pushing back. Was that the supposed Republican in the room? I
think that there's a brunette and there's a blonde.
Okay.
And the brunette was the one who was suggesting, and I'll set the stage for you here a little bit. This is their post-debate
But
reaction.
This guy, DeSantis, has the charisma of this cup, okay?
Yeah.
I think when Chris says, are you going to run in 2024, he looks like he's having a stroke. He can't even answer that simple question.
Yeah.
This is where I say Trump has a better shot, certainly with the Republican Party and the Republican base, than he does. Because Trump, as annoying as he is and as hateful as he is, he has that kind of negative charisma that is what we've come to see in the past few years. And DeSantis does not. He's just boring, and he lies as much as Trump. So if they're going to lie, at least entertain us with it.
Joy Behar's case that she's making for why Trump has a much, her words, better chance with this Republican Party is because as annoying and as hateful as he is, he has that negative charisma. And then she says that we've come to see. Those are the points in her proof of how the Republican Party would obviously prefer Donald Trump over Ron DeSantis. And in the process of doing that, in order to make sure that people who didn't watch the debate, and let's be honest, like what percentage of people who are watching The View watched the Ron DeSantis Charlie Crist debate?
Not a huge crossover in the Venn diagram.
So you have an instance where The View is going to recap for you what you missed. And in order to paint the picture so that you fully understand how inept Ron DeSantis was in that governor debate, she said he looked like a stroke. Someone who was having a stroke.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't even put a sentence together. He couldn't find the words. John Fetterman is going to debate Dr. Oz tonight.
Yeah.
He has just had a stroke.
Actually had a stroke.
It's wild.
It's such a bizarro world. I don't like putting everybody into these big buckets like this, but I will say this about the left. They really, really vote based on the way somebody makes them feel. And that is entirely what The View is saying in not only that clip, but in a whole bunch of the other ones that you played this morning about Ron DeSantis and Trump, is that he makes me feel bad. He's got charisma, but it's yucky charisma. And therefore, I will not vote for these people. You also should not vote for these people because they lie too. That's it. There's not playing a clip and saying, here's the lie. They're just saying they lie. They make you feel bad.
One policy-based substantive thing that Joe Behar said there
Nothing.
About anybody, Trump or DeSantis, or anybody who would support them in the Republican Party.
There's no substance.
Not one single ounce of substance to it. Her assessment is, if you're in the Republican Party, you obviously want somebody who is annoyingly hateful with negative charisma. That's obviously who this Republican Party is going to choose.
Yeah. I just want somebody as a Republican, I'm not looking for anybody who has any policies. I'm looking for somebody who has a ton of negative charisma and is very unlikable and makes me feel good.
Well, you had me thinking that was Joy Behar until the end.
Well, I think that's my point. It's frustrating because you're not really ever having debates. You're not really having arguments with anybody. And I'm not just talking about debates like we're looking at John Fetterman and Oz right now coming up tonight. But when you try to have these discussions, now there are people that I can have discussions with that are policy-based. But for the most part, when you get on social media or whatever, you're not having a real policy-based discussion. You are saying something, and they are saying to you, why do you hate democracy? It's just nonsense. There's no discussion being had, and The View is the perfect example of that. It's what, 4-on-1 or 4-on-a-half? It's not even like a real Republican.
There's nobody that I tune into The View to see represent my view. Just like the mainstream media or the liberal-leaning media, there's nobody there that really represents me. Did you see this? There's an article in USA Today on another note. New guidelines expand eligibility for weight loss surgery. Will insurance coverage follow? Now, follow me here. So I'm just going to read a little bit here. Key points from this article, according to USA Today. 2 surgical groups have updated the guidelines for bariatric surgery for the first time in 3 decades. The guidelines mean vastly more people are eligible for weight loss surgery, but whether Medicare and the insurance industry will expand their coverage to match the guidelines remains to be seen. I think that you could make a case that bariatric weight loss surgery would be something that would help people who have been unable to find a healthy alternative to being morbidly obese to get them on the track to being healthy. And in the world where we have the Affordable Care Act, you have a collective that is supporting other people and their health. So the idea that they push healthy habits, that has become of value. Other people's health now affects your pocketbook. The more people who are unhealthy, the more money that's going to have to be paid out in healthcare initiatives and healthcare procedures. So the healthier we are as a country, the less money it's going to cost a publicly funded healthcare system, which we have a version of. Look at how our political parties, specifically the Democratic Party and specifically the far left portion of our Democratic Party, is keying in and focusing on transitioning gender surgeries for children, those who are not old enough and mature enough to commit to serving in the United States military, those who are not old enough to buy a pack of cigarettes, those who are not old enough to know the responsibility that comes behind buying a lottery ticket or gambling money. We set ages on all of those things, and we have laws, different laws in different states, but we have laws that restrict access to those kinds of things because we've deemed at certain age you are not intellectually or independently supported enough to make these decisions for yourself, so we limit it. I mean, like marriage, limiting the idea that you can't fall in love with someone and marry somebody when you're 14 years old. Jonathan Taylor Thomas never would have gone for it anyway. You remember JTT? Man.
Oh, yeah.
He was my 14.
Do I remember JTT?
Everybody
My
does.
whole wall was
Do you
covered
know
in
who JTT is, Hannah?
Not a single clue.
Oh, man.
Do you know you don't know Jonathan Taylor Thomas?
Nope.
You ever seen Home Improvement?
Nope.
What? Never?
No. I'll look him up, though.
You'll look them
Yeah,
up
you will.
as in Tool Time? Look up Tool Time.
Just write JTT, and you'll see. You'll know.
Thanks for having that at the ready.
Do you think that we should be talking about gender reassignment surgeries and the president of the United States vocally supporting it in a weekend interview, saying that, no, we shouldn't be limiting all that? Why are we not advocating for weight loss surgeries? Would we, as a country, support, these types of bariatric procedures for youth? Whose business is that? If you are somebody who is young and you feel like you're questioning what society says you are versus what you feel inside that you might be, and you look at what we nationally are kind of just allowing the discussion to happen, and people aren't stepping up in mass saying, this is incredibly wrong. This is so incredibly wrong. If a child identifies differently than, the societal norms say boy, girl, If a child feels differently than that you would go as far to change their physical body in an irreversible way. I just look at the other surgeries that are out there right now that we're talking about that insurance will likely be covering. It's not very long until this is exactly how if we don't stop it, if we don't stand up and say, this is child abuse, you cannot do this, we won't allow it. Who's going to stand up for those kids?
We have to right now. We have to. But what you're saying is exactly right. This is unfortunately the consequence of government-run anything. When the government gets involved in anything, they get to pick winners and losers. They get to pick who's going to get money, who's not. And it applies to healthcare, and we're seeing that play out. You're talking about a future where the possibility of, weighing too much. Well, sorry, you can't. The government's going to decide what you can weigh. These are things that you could actually be talking about within 5 or 10 years, especially if the government continues to get involved in these industries. The more economically the government gets involved in anything, they're going to be picking winners and losers economically. You get checks we're Illinois residents. We're getting checks in the mail right now, right before election time.
Have you gotten yours?
No, but I've gotten a postcard telling me I'm going to get one.
Have you gotten yours, Brad?
No.
I haven't either. I just thought maybe...
It's all a lie.
I was hoping it was because J.B. Pritzker knows my
What
name.
check?
I can almost guarantee you're going to get one before November 8th, though.
Good. And I'm
What
gonna...
check?
Oh, see, in Illinois, is it billed as a tax rebate?
Yeah, I think so.
$50 a person in your household?
$100 per kid.
That's why I had all these kids.
And then something like a $500,
Good
$300.
news, Jared. These kids are finally paying us back $100.
They're calling it too. It's really messed up. They're also calling half of it a property tax rebate. So
lower property
why don't you
taxes?
just lower the property taxes? No. How about right before an election, we send you back $300? Oh, Thank you so much. But this is the government getting involved and picking you and saying, hey, you know what? Right now you matter to me, so I'm going to return some of your money to you.
Right. In essence, what they're doing is they're bribing you with your money.
Yes, exactly.
Donate it to the Bailey campaign.
There you go. $300.
Carlos says that he got his, and Hunter says, Annie, you're going to be rich.
Yeah. These
But
kids,
they're dozens of children.
That is exactly why I had these kids, so that I could make more money.
Mm-hmm.
I am making more money and spending more money in Biden's America, and it is not helping me.
Oh, Biden's America. I don't like that. I don't know that I've ever heard that.
You're living it, honey.
Am I? Is this?
This is the dream. This is the dream you've always been waiting for.
Is this Biden's America?
Yes.
How do you feel?
Terrible.
Terrible. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk about a video that we're going to have up for you that I have not seen. But Hannah just told me passing when I went out of the studio in the last break that she said, in her words, she literally peed her pants.
I peed my pants when I saw this video. It was so...
Because you didn't explain why. Was it funny? Was it terrifying? Were you sad? Did you just really have to go to the bathroom?
Doesn't matter. There's just pee everywhere.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
There's pee all over the place.
We have a Hannah Can Help edition, and I haven't
something.
seen it. Is it just for? Does it play on the radio? You need to see it, don't you?
I think you need to see it. We could try it, but I don't know.
You gotta see it. It's
maybe we'll have a YouTube premiere of Hannah Can Help.
I think we should.
Instead of...
Because this is a video.
Yeah,
You've got to see it.
Something you need to see. Maybe, I'll have to think about that. I can't wait to see it myself. Join us on the YouTube live stream. Vote in the YouTube live chat. Is it important to you that the likely GOP House majority commit now to impeach Joe Biden? You have 3 options. Yes, they should commit. No, it's not a priority for me, or he shouldn't be impeached. Let's answer that question here in the studio while you go vote in the live chat section of today's live video, and we'll discuss that when we come back. Don't go away.
But I'll admit that I was glad it was over.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. If you're a fan of 97.1, get a t-shirt. Visit 971talk.com/merch to see all the new t-shirt designs and show your support for St. Louis's home for conservative talk. 97.1 FM Talk.
The number to call and schedule your retirement review. Doesn't cost you anything. 314-993-9494. That's 314-993-9494. Thomas Helbig, Bob Kershaw, the family folks at the Retirement Advisory Group sit down with you and they assess your situation. Are you prepared for that target retirement date that you have? Were you prepared and now the economy went whoop, and then you need to make some adjustments? They can help you walk and navigate that path. Having somebody in your corner who understands how these things work, securing you so you don't lose any of your principal, this is where Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw can help you have that worry-free retirement. Know what your target date is and help you achieve it. Maybe you can retire sooner than you thought you had to wait. Maybe you don't have what you need to adequately be able to retire when you hoped. They'll get you to where you need to go. They'll make sure that you are equipped with information, and they will help you get to that retirement with confidence. 314-993-9494, online at retirementkey.com.
Football season is here. The new Odyssey app lets you stay connected to your NFL team, your station, your shows. Follow your favorite stations and come back again and again. Get real-time updates on everything you care about. Miss your show? Jump back to their awesome rewind feature. The Odyssey app is NFL football. Live and on demand. Wherever you are, whenever you want. And did we mention it's all free? Download the Odyssey app today.
Paid for by Blaine for Congress.
I'm Blaine Lutkemar, and I approve this message.
We've seen some price increases. Some folks have raised worries that this could be a sign of persistent inflation. But that's not our view.
Reality is, inflation is now at a 40-year high, costing the typical family over $700 more every month just to stay even. That's the Biden extremist tax you pay every day. You pay it at the gas pump because of the extremist war against American energy, shutting down pipelines and using red tape to stop new development. You pay it in the devastation in your retirement account. You pay it in the border crisis and out-of-control crime wave. And now, they've driven America into a recession. Our most powerful weapon to stop them is our vote. It's in our hands to stop the damage they're doing to our families and America. November 8th, vote.
You've listened to 97.1 FM Talk. You've heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial and Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple as the financial expert on the station for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio several times a weekend right here on 97.1 FM Talk. And you can talk to Doug Voss directly. Here's his number. Call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through D.H. Hill Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Mark Cox here. Prices on just about everything are still rising, but thanks to my friends at CarShield, I don't have to worry about how much it'll cost to fix my car when it breaks down. Their price will never go up, and they help handle everything. That's why I love CarShield. When I locked my keys in my car on vacation, CarShield was there for me because they offer roadside assistance with every protection plan at no extra cost. When my car radio started acting up, I got it replaced because CarShield covers those things under my protection plan. When you need a repair, you don't have to deal with the paperwork or the headaches. You just choose the mechanic to do the work, and CarShield administrators handle the rest. CarShield has my back when my car breaks down. They can have yours too. Get coverage like I did. Go to carshield.com/Cox or call 800-391-8888 to save 10% on your plan. That's carshield.com/Cox.
This is the Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Frey Show.
Now we see everything that's going wrong with the world and those who lead it. We just feel like we don't have the means to rise above and beat it. So we keep waiting on the world to change.
So if I play this Biden ASMR clip, do we need to turn John Mayer down? It's like the opposite to me. There's John Mayer's
Yeah,
sultry voice.
that's going to go together like oil and water.
If I could wave a wand, I'd cure cancer. Why? Because no one believes it can be done.
Barf.
But we're starting to do it. There's nothing beyond our capacity. I mean it. Not a joke. Not a joke.
That's a real clip.
Yeah, that's a real clip.
His whole presidency is a joke. It's unreal.
It's not a joke.
To think.
It's not a joke.
The more I don't have the words.
He's talking about waving a wand and curing cancer, and then that it's not a joke.
Why are you talking so high?
Because it's a joke.
Better than a whisper.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it the other way.
Hey,
what do you want me to do?
Whisper in a really high voice. Can't you, is that even possible?
I don't know, Annie.
You sound like you really got to go to the bathroom.
Sounds like he swallowed a dog toy.
There was peanut butter in it. I had to eat it.
Careful. The YouTube live chat poll today on the Annie Frey YouTube channel. Go cast your vote now. I'm really curious about this because I've heard this be pushed a lot more. I won't comment on that yet. Let me read it first. Is it important to you that the likely GOP House majority commit now to impeach Joe Biden? Yes, they should commit. No, it's not a priority for you. Or he should not be impeached. So I do have thoughts on this, but before I say anything on it, I want to go around the room. Hannah, do you have any thoughts or considerations?
I'm kind of confused on this poll. Impeachment really confuses me, so
you should ask Donald Trump. He's really
yeah.
He's really good at
All
it.
right, let's skip you and see if you are swayed by anything that anyone says. Ryan,
Okay.
what do you think?
Okay, I'm going to say no, it's not a priority. I don't think there would be. Really, the only reason to do it is to draw attention to something. And to me right now, that would either be something from the laptop or the border, and that's fine. But you can do, I don't think that's priority number one. If that happens sometime over the next 2 years because it needs to happen, great, but it's not a priority for me.
What you're saying right now is the importance of impeaching Biden is not on your list.
No, that's what I'm saying, yes.
So you would say, no, not a priority for me.
Not a priority.
Bradley.
I am overburdened with indifference to impeaching Biden. I cannot care less about them impeaching Biden. So my answer is no.
Can you be
it's not.
passionately indifferent?
I am passionately indifferent.
I think he's trying to prove that you can't.
I am overburdened with indifference. Yeah.
I hear you, though. I hear what you're saying.
But wait. What's your response?
So what's my response is no, it's not important.
Okay.
So I sit here and I look at this and it's like, man, I'm more interested in impeachment of, say, Mayorkas for dereliction of duty.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
For what?
For dereliction of duty of securing the southern border.
Because he's the Secretary of Homeland Security.
Yeah, he's the Secretary of Homeland Security. He has a duty to do that. I heard a stat the other day. There were 98 known terrorists on the watch list caught at the border during the entire, I think it was the entirety of Trump's presidency. There were 6.
Wow.
So what the Biden administration is doing via Mayorkas is they're just opening the border and letting people in, and they're putting everybody in danger. They have a responsibility to secure the border. It's like one of the main tenets of government is to provide for the what is it? Provide for the national security, I think is how they say that. If they don't secure the border, then he needs to be impeached. If they impeach him and he is removed and Biden places somebody else in there that does the same thing, then we know and can say unequivocally that it's coming from the Biden administration, not from the Secretary of Homeland Security. Then we can talk about impeachment of Biden. But
Biden
until
would
then,
not be able to put somebody in without them being approved by a Senate that would, in theory,
right,
not allow that person.
So the
to be
impeachment
confirmed.
of Biden is just not a priority for me.
So when I wrote this poll, I was thinking it was no, not a priority for me. But I think I might be shifting to he shouldn't be impeached.
Really? You just think it would be a bad idea?
I don't think, first and foremost, just strategically, I don't think it makes the country better. I feel like the fallout of removing Biden from office, first of all, he could easily be impeached in the House, I think, the same way that Trump was easily impeached twice in the House. There's, to my knowledge at this point, and again, this all is about this moment in time. Not, well, what if he blah, 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 like in a year and a half. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about right now. He is a terrible president, easily the worst president of my lifetime. Kamala Harris would be equipped in a way that Joe Biden isn't. This is a really weird sentence to say, intellectually.
Okay.
Wow. It's all subjective, folks. It's all relative. Kamala Harris would be able to, in my opinion, move the ball further down the field in a way that Joe Biden hasn't before. I think she would be emboldened more than Joe Biden is. I think Joe Biden is somebody who is being managed and handled. I think if Kamala Harris comes on the scene, that would look very different. And I don't really see how that puts the United States in a safer, more secure place. I think Kamala Harris is fantastic insurance for Joe Biden. And not only is it not important to me whether they would or wouldn't impeach him, like by no means do I want the flag that you bring into, after you win your fight in the election to be about impeaching Joe Biden. I actually don't think it would be good for the country. Realistically speaking, I don't think that it would strengthen the United States of America. I think the priorities should be far, far different than that, what would absolutely 100% be seen as political tit for tat. So I think in the course of the probably, 20 hours that I created this poll, I think I've shifted to he should not be impeached.
So are you talking about impeachment as being synonymous with being removed from office? Because I don't think that would happen.
The question is it important to you that the likely GOP House majority commit now to impeach Joe Biden?
But in the way you're coming up with your answer, you're saying you think that they would remove him from office because you're talking about Kamala taking the presidency.
If you are impeaching the president without having the intention and case that you believe would actually have him be removed from office, then it is solely political.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the Republicans, if the Republicans are trying to take office and as one of their tenets, you vote for me and this is what I'll do for you, there are folks who are out there saying the first thing we want to do is impeach this president, and that is a tool that they're using to get votes. If you are going to engage in impeaching a president without thinking that he should effectively be removed from office for that, then you're only doing it for political purposes. And to me, that's an abuse of the purpose of impeachment. That's exactly what they did to Donald Trump. You can disagree politically with what they're doing. You can disagree with, you can hold hearings. You can do what they're doing with January 6th to your heart's content. And the American people have said, we're not down with that because look at how many people are serving in that capacity that have decided, I think I'm done here on their own, or like Liz Cheney, resoundingly defeated in their primary because people aren't having it. I think that if you're campaigning right now on the premise that you are going to make your priority the impeachment of Joe Biden, I feel like that's selfish, Republican, red jersey wearing, forgetting about what's the most important for the country.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I'm in the majority of thinking that.
No, I actually agree because I don't think he would be removed. I think the Senate, the House would do it under the right circumstances. The Senate, you wouldn't get enough votes to actually remove him. So it would be a political exercise. And therefore, is it worth it to go through that process knowing that you wouldn't actually be removing the guy? I don't know that the answer is yes. You can convince me. I think coming up in the next year, somebody probably come up with a case that it would be worth it just to get the focus on something. But again, I voted indifferent because I'm not there yet.
Well, I sit here and I look at this, and it's a political calculus because that's what the Democrats did in 2018. There was a lot of them that ran on impeaching him. So they did impeach him, and they impeached him twice. And really, what did they get for all of that? Do they have anything to show for it outside of people who were already in their camp screaming Donald Trump was impeached twice?
I was just going to say, it's just a chant from the people on the left who wake up thinking about Donald Trump. Like, imagine that life. I don't know what it's like.
You also strengthen the opposition base. I mean, there's a lot of people who just say, look, you persecuted the guy enough that I will never let go of that.
Which is what doing the same thing to Joe Biden would do to the other side, which is why it's political.
Yes.
Get back to focusing on what is important for the country. And maybe something develops over the course of time where you're like, yeah, he absolutely needs to be removed from office. To me, the thing that should remove Joe Biden from office is not impeachment. It's the 25th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
That is where I truly see this presidency headed. And that is going to be something to behold. If that is enacted, that will absolutely be something to historically observe from where I sit, from where we all sit together as we move through these unprecedented times. It's not impeachment. And I don't know. I have heard from what I was going to say at the beginning of this that I didn't say quite yet, is that it seems to be that in the strongest of Trump corners, that the anger about the impeachment of Donald Trump has manifested it in itself in a way that says that the priority of these people needs to be, why are they not willing to say that Donald Trump needs to be impeached? I think that that's short-sighted. That's like winning the quarter and losing the game. You need to focus on the long term. You need to hold everybody accountable for the specific things that you can pinpoint, that document and prove essentially in court that this type of dereliction of duty has occurred. And you need to hold everybody accountable to the American people on the foundation of the Constitution of the United States. And if it doesn't fit that purpose, we shouldn't waste time. We don't have much time.
Yeah. I could really see. We're focusing on the border, and I don't want to mince words either. I think the guy's done such a terrible job on that one issue alone, let alone everything else, that he deserves to be removed from office. I'm just saying the political reality is I don't think that would happen. Therefore, it would become a political process. But the thing that really could kind of blindside us all with this is if they can prove, and they're real close to it already based on what we all know, that he was taking money from foreign governments, then all of a sudden you have something that probably should be made into an impeachment trial just to show the country and the world.
I don't think you need to do impeachment. If you have a responsible media, if you have journalists, we can't use impeachment as a way to expose things. Right. Impeachment needs to be the way you prove things with a purpose, a set goal in mind of removing somebody who is not working on the behalf of the American people in the position of power provided to them by the American people. That's what impeachment is for. And we need to not fall into the trap of impeachment being the way that we get the biggest political dunk on our opponents, because we're gonna be in impeachments all the time. Mm-hmm. Maybe we've already arrived at that place. But if I understand, like, for instance, I'll use a volleyball analogy since this is my life right now. There is a rule in volleyball that if you are in the back row, 6 people on the floor, 3 in the front, 3 in the back, basically speaking, if you are somebody whose position is in the rotation is currently in the back row, you cannot come in front of the attack line and hit the ball. If you contact the ball when you leave the floor, you don't even have to leave the floor. It just matters where the ball is. So if the ball is completely above that horizontal plane of the top of the net, and you contact the ball in front of that attack line as a back row player, it's called a back row attack. You can't do that. Otherwise, if you got a 6-foot person, you would just put them up in front of the net all the time, and they would cheat, and they would block everything. You just put that person up there. You need to make it so that that person has to spend half of their time as a back row player. There are ways that you can work in the confines of the rules to make sure that that person understands you have to wait for the ball to break that horizontal plane of the net, and then they can come in front of that line and attack it. When the official doesn't know that rule, and many of them don't understand that rule, one of two things happen. They have no idea that the person is coming from the back row to hit in the front row, or they see a person from the back row come to the front and send the ball over with a hit or an overhand attack, and they just call him for a back row attack, and it's a completely legal hit because the ball is below that plane of the net. When you don't have good officials on the floor, they don't enforce the rules correctly, as a coach, if I have a girl who I can take and use to our advantage, and the official on the floor doesn't know that rule, I'm not stopping her from playing the ball every time she can in whatever way she can. If the people who are calling the game and keeping it fair don't know the rules or don't enforce the rules, people will take advantage of those rules. And what the Democrats have done all through Trump is they send their back row hitter to the front row because they know that the official isn't going to call them on it. And the official, the person who's supposed to keep everybody honest in that analogy, is the media. The media is the person who is paid to come into the game, to call balls and strikes, to implement truth and speak on truth, whether people like it or don't. I mean, you can make a call. It's a judgment call. It's a rule call. You can make a call as an official, and 50% of the people in the gym or on the field or on the court are going to hate it. But it's the call. You just got to do it and know that the people out there eventually go, well, she really seems to know the rules, and if she called it, I disagree with that, but okay, whatever. You have to earn that respect. The media has thrown the game for the Democrats for so long that you take a rule like impeachment or, a constitutional tenet like impeachment, and the Democrats know that they're not going to get called on it. They're spiking on the other team all the time, and you got half the people in the gym yelling about it, and the official either doesn't know the rules or they know them and they're not calling them. And in this case, the media has known and hasn't called it. We got to get back to the place where we hire good officials, good people who are advocating for the people of this country, for Americans, to advocate for truth that is blind to red or blue, right or left, Republican or Democrat, so that we don't have to try to use the lack of the back row tack knowledge or the unwillingness to call, the guts to call that against the team that's abusing it. Impeachment is that right now. It is the way that you prove and show things to the country because the officials don't call the game fair. And I don't want to advocate for more of that in the event that we don't put the pressure on the media to get it straight, to call it fair. We need to be calling the manager, Karen. Talking to you, Karen.
I know.
We need to be calling out the people who are not willing to call the game straight and call the game fair and work on them, because to me, that's where all of this, just like, how hard would it be for the media to report on what's going on the southern border? Bill Melugin was on a Fox News report, said that I think he said there was a paper publication from Japan that was covering this new report that came out. I think it was Friday at 11 p.m. is when they released the latest immigration report that was super, super terrible. Japan, they had a paper from Japan who came up to Bill Melugin and Fox News. They're like, hey, where would we go to see the people who are coming in? And they're like, you go here. This is what you do. And I think the other one was like Switzerland or something. It's like bizarre. There's nobody else in American media who wants to cover this story. That's the problem. That's where our focus needs to be, on getting this country straight, because if all of those entities are out there right now asking Republicans and Democrats in elected office, what are you doing to stop this? Do you even consider this to be a problem? Then we start solving some problems.
Are you saying that The View isn't handling this fairly?
I think that I don't know what The View is handling. I don't know that. Have they ever talked about the border? I wouldn't know because I don't watch it.
I don't think that you should go to The View for your news.
I kill people do. Thank you, Jon Stewart, for starting that trend. Let's take a quick break. We'll get to the results of the YouTube live chat poll when we come back. And I want to play for you a couple of clips here from this MSNBC support focus. It's a focus group that had Trump supporters on it, and this MSNBC reporter asking these questions to these Trump supporters is so funny. It's a perfect example of what we're talking about right here. A slanted media cannot possibly report to you truth because they're not invested in it. They're invested in something very different. More Annie Frey Show right around the corner in the YouTube live chat poll results when we come back.
The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe. The Mark Reardon Show.
Dan O'Donnell, WISN.
Things got so bad that the judge actually arrested the defense for him. In all my years of covering trials, I have never seen that happen.
Weekdays from 3 to 6.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
If you've never had Andrea's steak sauce on your protein, give it a shot. I've said that many times, but you know what? They also have salad dressing, and it's equally unique. You can also use it as a marinade. So pick up one of those two or maybe both of them together at an area grocery store. Schnucks, Deerberg, Straub's, they all sell Andrea's Brush on Steak Sauce or Andrea's Steak Sauce. I also urge you, why not go to the restaurant and have a really, really nice meal and get both of them prepared for you. It is in Fairview Heights, Illinois, the restaurant, and they make both those sauces right there on site, so you can pick them up while you're at the restaurant. Pick up a gift card while you're there. It's a great Christmas gift, so pick up a lot of things while you're there, but both of their sauces and a gift card. It is a great gift, and we are coming up on Christmas. Never too early to think about those things. Go to Andreas.com for all of those things that I just mentioned as well, or you can go to the restaurant again in Fairview Heights, O'Fallon, Illinois.
Attention! Did you or a loved one live at or near Marine Base Camp Lejeune in North Carolina between 1953 and 1987? If so, listen closely for this important legal announcement. From 1953 to 1987, Marines and their family members at Camp Lejeune drank water that was contaminated with hazardous toxins. The toxins found in the water at Camp Lejeune may cause health issues, especially later in life. Types of health issues associated with water at Camp Lejeune are numerous. If you or a loved one lived near Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1987, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation without going to court. Even if you were turned down in the past, a new law can allow you to file a claim today. If you or a loved one spent time near Camp Lejeune, call the Negligence Network to find out if you're eligible for financial compensation. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call 1-800-600-5536. That's 1-800-600-5536. 1-800-600-5536.
Mark Cox here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call Thomas Helbig with the Retirement Advisory Group at 314-993-9494. He'll show you how to participate in the market gains without ever losing a penny. Thomas is the official financial advisor of the Mark Cox Morning Show.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling Studios. Air Comfort Service is celebrating 53 years of residential and commercial service, maintenance, and installation of heating and cooling systems. Get in your comfort zone. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
Me right. You strung me along for far too long, 'cause I never gave up the fight until now.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Doug Mastriano was at the insurrection, and he was photographed breaching one of the restricted areas. Is that okay?
Which area? Because I saw a video where Capitol officers were taking away barriers and unlocking doors for people. So, I mean,
they opened the gates.
So it shouldn't be disqualifying for an elected official if they participated in January 6th?
He didn't strike anybody. He didn't hurt anybody.
And the only one that died was a protester there, not a Capitol police
Unarmed
officer.
female veteran.
That's the only one that died.
That's the only one who died.
A police officer did die.
No, it was a stroke.
That's not
on site.
Caused by that. That's because he shouldn't have been a police officer.
The reporter was asked how she felt about this interview, and she said that. Like, watching this, if you come across the video of this interview, she's sitting there. Did you watch it? Did you see this?
Oh yeah, yes, I did.
I did not.
The funny thing is that she is sitting 30 yards away from them in this interview, and they are sitting
a coliseum.
They are sitting in chairs, like wooden chairs or something, that have no armrests, and they are butt to butt.
Yeah.
So it's like she's keeping the filth of the Trump supporters as far away as, 6 feet of distance, people. 60 feet of distance, people. You guys can just sit on each other's laps. Here's some more from this MSNBC.
What do you make, though, overall of January 6th? I mean, watching that footage, it was pretty disturbing. I mean, there were people throwing excrement at the walls, and it was it's the Capitol.
It looked a lot like Antifa's actions to me.
except on a much smaller scale, it looked the same as the Black Lives Matter riots.
That's what I saw, the similarities to
around
me.
the country, not just one.
Burns, Kenosha burns.
But so it's okay
Waukesha
just because
like,
one side that you
No,
disagree with?
I'm
it's
saying
okay
Antifa
for-
No, I'm saying
infiltrated.
it's good for one, it's good for the other.
Anybody
I don't
who
see it
harms
that way.
anybody who caused property destruction, that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah,
but if you're
on
there
either
making
side.
your voice heard at the people's house, no less,
Yeah.
that's, again, it's a fundamental constitutional right of an American citizen, and people should not be being held political prisoner because of it.
The reporter literally is disgusted. You can see it on her face when she's listening.
Was
to
the
them.
protest legitimate in your
Our
eyes?
administration, I
because
feel like, is using it as their Reichstag fire.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're using it as.
Mm-hmm.
Dude's smart. The dude in the stocking cap,
Yeah.
he schools her
He
over
doesn't-
and over.
I would have thought when I first saw it and I didn't know what I was watching, I was like, I profiled him as a non-Trump supporter.
Do you think that President Trump could have quelled the violence that day?
Not him personally.
I don't think
so, no.
I don't think so.
It started while he was still speaking. I was actually there. I was there to see what I thought was going to be the last time I ever saw Trump, little did I know.
So did he tell everybody to go and start rioting?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, and it actually, I stayed for the whole speech, like a ton of people did.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all headed to the Capitol because he said, let's go to the Capitol and peacefully let our voices
keyword.
be heard. And we get to the Capitol and we're like, what the hell's going on? Because it had already happened.
That's the experience of a lot of people. I don't care what your thoughts are about January 6th, if you think it was the worst day of democracy, or if you were somebody who was there and you don't. I mean, I can't support the idea of how far people took it breaking into the Capitol. I don't ever think that property destruction is the right way. I've been pretty consistent on that on all of the 2020 protests that were taking place, but that stuff hasn't been heard. I guess high five MSNBC for not accidentally losing that tape.
Yeah, and you can see that tape is edited too, so that's the best of what they could do. That did not go well for that reporter.
Well, unless you got to ask yourself what the view is, because if you are looking to try to splice together a neurotic, deranged view of a Trump supporter, MSNBC put that together and may very well think this is what Trump supporters are. This is who they are. If you're going to support Trump in the future, this is who they are. They're January 6th sympathizers.
So to your point, Ryan, that's the worst they could put together. That's as bad as they could make them look.
Well, and they're bringing up facts that it sounds like the reporter didn't even know. The police officer died. Yeah, that didn't happen on site. It happened later from a heart attack. It was almost as if she had never heard that before. So I wonder if she's repeating talking points and doesn't even know some of the things that they're saying back to her.
I think that these reporters know the details. I think they've been so comfortable in their own narrative that they've been able to establish that, I mean, if you live in an echo chamber, and there are many people who I speak to who live in New York City who they don't know anybody who's like me would vote for Trump again if he's the Republican nominee. My personal preference would be that Ron DeSantis would take up the mantle. But if Donald Trump is the nominee and he's able to win it, I am going to support him in that election. It's not a worshipful thing. I want what's best for the country, and the Democrats are a disaster. It's that simple. That's why I voted for Donald Trump. I mean, go roll the tapes of me in 2016, not really being a Trump cheerleader at all. Being like, okay, guys, Hillary Clinton's the other option. You got to do what you got to do. Step up and make it happen. Many Americans did that, and I would do that again. People in these academic echo chambers, in these big condensed populist blue city echo chambers, they don't know people like me.
No, they don't.
And they don't care to. And it's important that the people who are responsible for moving the ball down the field and getting another first down to tie us over and buy us some more time. I mean, like, if you want to think about it as a football analogy, if you've got the ball with 2 minutes left to go and you've got 4 downs, you win the game as long as you don't fumble the ball kneeling it and working 30 seconds off the clock or whatever it is before the game is over. That's what the media needs to do right now in the midterm, is buy the time that they need to buy in order to remind everybody who Trump is before the midterm election, and then they'll have to regroup again after that. But this one, they'll win. And I think that's what they're constantly trying to do here. Just keep the narrative up and paint Trump supporters as the people who they're trying to paint them there, even though you and I can hear that. And, regardless of how I know people who wanted to go to that event on January 6th, people in my own orbit, my own personal life, and I begged them not to go. I told them, I think bad things are going to happen at this event. I really, really would love for you to not go. And I kind of talked them out of doing it. I think that you can be very angry and want to participate in a protest and not have to be lumped into an insurrectionist is what they've done so far.
Yeah.
Should we get to the YouTube poll?
Yep. All right. The YouTube poll today is asking, is it important to you that the likely GOP House majority commit now to impeach Joe Biden? Yes, they should commit. No, not a priority for me. Or no, he shouldn't be impeached. 49% of the people with over 200 votes say no, it's not a priority for them that the likely GOP House majority commit to impeach Joe Biden. 33% say yes, they should commit, and 18% say he shouldn't be impeached. I'll get to
half of the people say no, it's not a priority, but a third of the people say yes, they need to commit to that now.
Yeah, it's a pretty big difference.
It is a big difference.
Travis from YouTube said they need to keep their eye on the ball. It doesn't gain us anything to impeach Biden. Andrea said, I voted no, he shouldn't be impeached. Too much time and money wasted, and Kamala would be worse, 100%. Chris said impeachment needs to just be used for valid reasons, not to weaponize it like the Democrats did. Rhino said, on the poll, I voted not important for them to commit now, but I want any corruption to be exposed on the other side. I'll get to some more comments. Becky said, I voted for commit to impeach. I'm tired of the Republicans taking the high road.
That's it. All right. Thank you for voting with us on the YouTube live chat poll. 31 subscribers to 4,000. Mark Reardon up next.
I'm Howard Mackler of GetRefunds.com. You might have heard me talk about the